ABC News chief legal analyst Dan Abrams is covering the case.
It's a pretty straightforward case legally. I mean, the defense has provided a possible answer if you want to find not guilty, which is this idea that the prosecution has the burden to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And the defense is essentially saying, are you sure it was knowingly? Did he know that he was a drug addict at that moment?
Hunter Biden is accused of lying on a form when buying a gun in 2018 when he indicated he was not a drug addict at the time. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed here after dropping as far as 350 points. We're now off 185 on the Dow. The S&P is down about a tenth, represented by a loss of 8, but the NASDAQ headed the other way. Right now it is up 29 points. Coming up, we could hit the 100-degree mark, the first triple digits of the year coming up tomorrow. We'll check that full forecast next. KSL News Time 9:02.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
In Utah, we don't make excuses. We work hard. We do what's right. We get it done. Washington, D.C. could learn a lesson from Utah and from Republican John Curtis. John Curtis is our first line of defense against Joe Biden's policies that have made life harder in Utah. In Congress, John's known as the get-it-done guy. He passed 15 bills that make us safer and stronger. John Curtis is reducing regulations so Utah small businesses can grow and you can afford your energy bills. And as always, he's fighting for American energy dominance as our champion for affordable, reliable, and clean energy. When Utah thrives, America thrives. John Curtis knows that, and in the U.S. Senate, he'll teach Washington how we do it in Utah. John Curtis, working hard and getting it done the Utah way. ClearPath Action Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. ClearPathActionFund.org.
In a world where ugly siding, leaky gutters, and inefficient windows are sapping homeowners of their will to live, one company must save us all. This year, join RGS Exteriors as it embarks on a mission to eliminate outdated home exteriors, one Utah home at a time. Every plank of old, ugly siding must be replaced. Every leaky gutter must be eradicated. Every inefficient, energy-sapping window must be vanquished once and for all. Begin your epic remodeling quest by calling RGS Exteriors for a free estimate. Discover how a heroic team of experts will save your siding, gutters, or windows for a fair, no-nonsense price. Call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or journey online to rgsexteriors.com. RGS Exteriors, coming soon to a home near you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
The sun is out and the temps are up. It's time to seize the day and hit the road. You were born to ride, and now's the time to make your dreams a reality. Imagine the wind in your hair as you cruise on your very own power scooter. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and these scooters aren't just for getting around. They're your ticket to freedom. With speeds up to 6 miles per hour, you'll own the road like never before. From graduation to concerts and vacations, our power scooters will get you there in style and ease. Don't wait another minute. The time to ride is now. Let's start your adventure today. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
We got emergency traffic out there, so let's check your traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Michelle, still Farmington, huh?
Yes, it's still a trouble spot, Tim. We have delays southbound I-15 due to a crash that does have the left lanes blocked right about Glover's Lane. You're going to be backing up almost to Kaysville at this point. Also, Highway 89 trying to join I-15, also a slow ride there as well. Get more in 2024 at the Ute Stampede Rodeo, July 10th through 13th. 90 years of family entertainment, carnival, flying cowboys, live music, and extreme bulls, July 10th. Package pricing, visit utestampede.com. I'm Michelle Rowan, the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and 92 today, then it gets really hot. We could hit 100 degrees tomorrow, and I don't know, maybe we're a degree cooler, if you could use that word. 99 coming on Thursday. And right now in Salt Lake City, it is 73 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes, reminding you to listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, sparks really flew last night at the U.S. Senate debate between Trent Staggs, who is pretty far behind in the polls, and John Curtis, Representative John Curtis.
You've accused me of a felony here tonight. You better have very good evidence, and I'd like to challenge you to produce that evidence.
Isn't this how it works? At the end of a performance, you have the fireworks at the end, and this was a big firework moment. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
A new day, a new fight by the Utah GOP, fighting to keep its convention relevant. Another notice, an alert went out to voters, Republican voters, this time in Utah County, pushing the endorsed candidates that the GOP's endorsed, like Phil Lyman for governor and Trent Staggs for U.S. Senate. Both of them far behind in the polls. The GOP just seems dead set, desperate to keep the candidates that made it out of convention top of mind for voters. It's almost like they're pushing these candidates down the voters' throats. It's starting to feel like the pitch from your friend who just got involved in a multi-level marketing campaign. They won't stop calling. Like, I don't want your product. Can I make my own decision? No. I wonder if Republicans are just fed up with their party leaders over this stuff yet.
I think this is the very purpose of the party leadership. They're supposed to vet candidates. I can't keep track of everybody. I would expect my party, whether it's the GOP or the Democratic Party, to be the insiders that vet the best candidates and then present to, the layman, so to speak. Hey, this is who we are throwing our weight behind. This is who we like. That's what convention is for. I'm a little surprised that everyone's so surprised about it.
Countdown. 2.
Okay, renters, you're going to be the smartest ones in the room during this conversation when we go right on the money about home ownership. I think this feels like a mortgage on top of a mortgage. The incredible amount of hidden costs of owning a home. When you're the landlord and the tenant, you know what I mean? So you're on the hook for everything. You can't call up the landlord and be like, hey, the air conditioning's out. Can you get over here and fix it? Yeah, maybe we'll show up next week sometime. No, it's almost $1,000. Actually, it's more than $1,000 a month on average in hidden costs.
I love how you describe that. You're the landlord and the tenant when you're a homeowner because things are always breaking. My mom just lost her air conditioning. Obviously, it always happens right here when it turns 97 degrees. She got 3 bids. Yeah. It's 22 years old. It's time. Oh. It lived a good life. She got 3 bids, every single bid over $8,000 for an air conditioning unit. It's also part of the reason why I moved.
Launch countdown. 1.
All right, I listened to the entire Senate debate last night. And at the end, the very tail end, this attempt at a mic drop moment by U.S. Senate candidate Trent Staggs, in my view, totally backfired on him. So he goes after Representative John Curtis over the purchase of a stock at the start of the COVID pandemic. And Representative Curtis was having none of it. He was like, I need time to refute this because this is just all wrong.
You've accused me of a felony here tonight. You better have very good evidence, and I'd like to challenge you to produce that evidence.
And I really would like to see evidence. If there is evidence of wrongdoing, if he did something wrong, I absolutely want to see it. I also would like to understand better how some of our members of Congress making $176,000 a year have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars saved up in assets in their career. I want to know how on $200,000 a year you're multimillionaires.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Okay, we got to get to breaking news right now. We're just getting word that a verdict has been reached in the trial of Hunter Biden. Of course, Hunter Biden is the son of President Joe Biden. First Lady Jill was on hand yesterday during closing arguments. Then the jury, of course, started the deliberations. And now we're receiving word that a verdict has been reached. He's been on trial for accused of illegally purchasing a handgun during a time in his life when he was addicted to drugs.
And the argument he made in the trial was that during the time that he made this purchase, and you have to fill out some paperwork, and it asks if you're addicted to any illegal drugs, and you have to check a box. And his argument he made during trial is that during that time, that specific time when he filled out that paperwork, he believed that he was clean.
Let's go live right now to CNN just to see where things are at right now as they get prepared for the jury to read the verdict.
This is the first time in American history the son of a sitting American president has been tried. We'll see what the verdict is from the jury momentarily. But give us a big picture how this has impacted the president and his family.
As you say, Wolf, this really is unprecedented by any definition. The first time in American history that a Justice Department has charged the child of a sitting president with a criminal offense in this way. And, you know, in many ways, this case entered a completely different phase about a year ago. It was in July of 2023 when a plea deal, which seemed to have been worked out, which might close the chapter on this very painful, difficult, destructive period in Hunter Biden's life, could actually result in him avoiding trial. That plea deal collapsed in July. And as a result, you now see him here in court. And as Evan Perez was saying, this has been weeks of very difficult, overwhelming evidence brought by the prosecution of Hunter Biden's history of addiction. And in many ways, Wolf, the most surprising thing has been the degree of turmoil that was happening off stage of public life in the Biden family, dividing members of the family from one another. And I think there's just no question this has been a very painful period for the president and for the First Lady, who, after all, has been attending every day of this trial. So it's really hard to overstate how anxious this moment is for the president and his family as they await what the news will be.
Yeah, it's very anxious indeed. Evan, stand by. Tim Parlatore and our panel are here with us. What do you think?
We're going to step away for just a few moments. We'll be back with more developments in the jury trial of Hunter Biden. We're understanding that the jury is ready to return a verdict, or they've at least reached a verdict. We're going to gather more details on when that verdict will be read, and you'll hear it here on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Well, it's been 5 months. Time to check in on those New Year's resolutions you made to lose weight. How'd it go? I asked because once I started my health journey with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, it took me just over 5 months to let go of 70 pounds of fat weight. And even better, I did it all from the convenience of home with no office visits, injections, crazy workouts, or fad diets. What I did have was access to a certified dietitian like Avery.
I feel like you're enrolling in like a school of nutrition with a whole new perspective on what food is and what it does for your body.
Soda helped me retrain myself and change the lifelong food habits that got me where I was in the first place.
I think the accountability is the game changer for everything.
So, how fast do you want to let go of that weight for good? Go to sodaweightloss.com and save 15% by clicking one simple button, Request a Nutritionist Callback. A Soda nutritionist will be on the line before you know it, and you'll be on your way to looking and feeling like you've wanted to. That's SOTAweightloss.com. Don't forget, it. SOTA stands for State of the Art.
We're about to bury the needle.
High pressure's going to build back. Another round of high heat will move on in.
And it's only June.
Extra hot, extra early.
Stay updated on the steamy forecast for this week. Get a reliable KSL forecast every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Hi, friends. Dan, the laptop man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place.
We're just reading the headlines on CNN right now that Hunter Biden, the president's son, has been found guilty on all counts in the gun case.
It says that he is facing 25 years in prison and huge fines after being convicted on these gun charges. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to serve 25 years. So we will wait to see what that sentencing looks like. But yeah, found guilty of lying about the drug use on a federal gun form.
Yeah. 3 counts that he faced. The jury has just returned a verdict in quite short order. They began deliberating not very long ago, and they came back in just a matter of hours, I believe, with this guilty verdict on all 3 counts. As you said, Dave, he faces 25 years behind bars. It's a stretch to think he's going to serve that much time behind bars. We don't know what the timeline is yet for sentencing. So we will check into that and be back in just a second with more developments on that.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. We do have delays southbound I-15 due to a crash. It's a multi-vehicle crash at Glover's Lane. It is blocking the left 2 lanes, so you're backing up on I-15 almost to Kaysville, also on Highway 89. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a Utah judge has signed off on an execution warrant of a man who's been on death row since 1999. It would be the state's first execution in 14 years. Second, a brush fire in Rockville near Zion National Park has been fully contained. At one point, that fire was threatening several buildings and led to evacuations. And third, Utah students are exceeding national averages when it comes to math skills. The Annie E. Casey Foundation says 1 in 3 8th graders are meeting math standards. That's compared to 1 in 4 nationally. We'll look for a high today of 92 degrees, and right now with all that sunshine, 72 in downtown Salt Lake City. As we get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
We just got word just moments ago, you heard it break here live on KSL News Radio, that Hunter Biden, the president's son, has been convicted on all 3 counts that he was facing at his trial regarding the illegal purchase of a gun. That my understanding is after he purchased it, he kept it for just a very short time. But he was accused of lying on a form to make that purchase.
Yeah, the question on the form was, are you addicted to any illegal drugs right now? And he said no. And the prosecution gave ample evidence, overwhelming amount of evidence. Even Hunter Biden's book talked about his drug use during that time. And then the defense tried to twist it and say, well, during this specific little sliver of time when he purchased the gun, he thought that he was in recovery, that he had stopped using drugs, and they obviously failed in that argument.
Of course, as the general course of action goes in any case like this, I'm sure there will be an appeal as soon as there can be an appeal filed. And Dave, you were looking into the timeline for sentencing. What were you able to find out?
It looks like somewhere between 2 and 4 months, according to News Nation. I was listening in on that. And although it sounds 25 years sounds very, very intense and a very harsh sentence, they said don't be surprised if he serves somewhere between a year of time in prison.
We're just bringing you information on this developing story. It happened just as we were starting the show that the jury had returned a verdict of guilty for the president's son, Hunter Biden, now a convicted felon on all 3 counts that he illegally purchased a gun and lied on a form to do so while he was addicted. We'll take you live right now to ABC.
Likely that he would serve any prison time. Now remember, there was initially a plea deal that covered not just tax crimes, which they're going to deal with later at a later date, but this crime. And on this one, the prosecutors, as part of this deal, had agreed not to even prosecute it, meaning not a plea deal, not an agreement that he's conceding to guilt, but an agreement by the prosecutors not to even pursue this case. That's how sort of marginalized this case had initially been. But once that plea deal fell through, the prosecutors threw the book at Hunter Biden. And while it's true that under these facts, with one gun not used in a crime, someone who's not have a criminal record, no other crimes committed, there's never been a case where someone has been prosecuted just for this particular crime with those set of facts. But when a plea deal falls through, it is not unusual that the prosecutors then throw the book at the defendant, and that's exactly what happened here.
And Dan, just again for our audience, what do you gather this sentence could look like here?
I think it's likely that he will not be serving time for this. So I think that, look, the judge will have a lot of discretion here. As Terry made clear, this is, technically a very serious crime with very serious potential sentence. But as a practical matter, because it is the only crime, meaning there weren't other crimes committed with it. Typically, this kind of crime of lying on a federal form is thrown in with other crimes, where a gun is used in a crime. They say, oh, well, there was also falsification made on the federal form to get the gun. We're going to enhance the sentence as a result of that. Here, where you've got an isolated crime, just this, with nothing else, it would be very surprising, I think, if Hunter Biden were to serve time. But, David, one other interesting question. You had asked President Biden in your interview with him, whether he would pardon his son, and his answer was no, he'd respect the verdict, et cetera. Remember, there's also the possibility of commuting the sentence. So if there is a sentence that comes down, even if he's not officially pardoned, there's also the possibility of commuting the sentence at some point down the road.
And again, just to Dan, alluding to this interview I did with President Biden in Normandy just a couple of days ago. Dan, thank you. Stick with us here. But just to bring you up to speed at home, if you didn't catch the interview, one of the things I did ask of the president, as Dan mentioned, was have you ruled out a pardon for your son if convicted? He said yes. I also asked him if he would respect the verdict no matter what the finding was from the jury, and President Biden telling me yes, he would respect the outcome of this case. I want to bring in Olivia Rubin, our investigative reporter. She was inside the courtroom for much of this case. She was in the courtroom as the verdict was read. Olivia, can you describe what you saw?
Well, the verdict did appear initially, David, to potentially catch Hunter Biden by surprise when they announced the very first guilty, the first of three. He had absolutely no reaction on his face. He did not even move. But by the time they announced the second and third guilty verdict, Hunter appeared to accept the verdict. He was nodding his head along as it was read out, appearing to, acknowledge that he had just been found guilty, nodding along as they were reading it out. And then it sort of turned into a bit of an acceptance potentially from Hunter, who turned and patted his lead attorney, Abby Lowell, on the back. He turned around and immediately shook the hands of his paralegals. And then once the court was ultimately dismissed, it was a very brief reading of that verdict. He went around and hugged his legal team, and then he immediately went behind that barrier to grab a hold of his wife and hug his wife, which, David, I will say was one of the most striking aspects of this trial, was sort of the Biden family dynamic. The First Lady Jill Biden was here nearly every single day. His sister Ashley, his aunt and uncle, the brother and sister of President Joe Biden, Valerie and Jimmy, had been in the courtroom as well. Jimmy was in the courtroom, but actually and again, strikingly, this was one of the times where we saw the least amount of Bidens in the courtroom. Just Jimmy Biden and his wife were in there. It appeared that potentially Valerie Biden was late and potentially missed the reading of the verdict. They sealed off that courtroom, and only after the verdict had been read did she rush down the aisle and go to greet Hunter's wife, Melissa. So some very striking dynamics in there. But again, Hunter sort of nodding along with that verdict.
Olivia, we're looking at pictures right now of First Lady Jill Biden. As you point out, she was there for the trial every day but one. She was not in the courtroom for the verdict?
She was not in the courtroom for the verdict, and I can tell you, David, as I sprinted out of the courtroom to come down to you as it was after wrapped up there, she was heading in just as I was heading out. She was rushing through that lobby, appearing, we don't know if they intended for her to not be here for Valerie, but it certainly does appear as if it's possible that they missed the reading of the verdict. It happened quite quickly from when it came down just after 11. Her clerk, the judge's clerk, came into the courtroom to say that the verdict had been reached, and just moments later, it was being read. And you could kind of almost sort of sense what that verdict was going to be initially when they walked the jury in. Again, something we have talked about before, the jury not looking at Hunter Biden. One of the jurors actually took his seat smiling, which was quite striking to see him smiling right before that verdict was read. But again, Jill Biden not in the courtroom. And again, the least amount of Bidens essentially that we have seen in the courtroom for the reading of the verdict.
First Lady not there for the verdict, though there just about every other day of this trial to show her support. Olivia, thank you for the color inside the courtroom. I'm going to bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. John, some shock from Hunter Biden's legal team here, and you've also heard from a very close confidant of Hunter Biden.
Yeah, the one-word response I got from a very close friend of Hunter Biden's is stunned, absolutely stunned. I had spoken
Listen to live coverage, ABC News bringing us the latest on the conviction of the president's son, Hunter Biden, convicted on 3 counts of illegally purchasing a gun. We don't know what his sentence will look like. We can suspect that there will likely be an appeal. But we do know what the president has said about a pardon. The question of a pardon, and he was emphatic with ABC News' David Muir.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
You have.
A very clear and concise statement from the president. And I know they must be heartbroken. I don't know how many parents have been through this exact thing where their kids make a decision and they break the law. They can be heartbroken. I hope this isn't politicized and trying to blame Joe Biden. This was Hunter Biden, an adult that made a mistake, and he was found guilty on all 3 counts.
You've been listening to live coverage of breaking news of the president's son, Hunter Biden, convicted on all 3 gun charges that he was facing. A jury brought that verdict back this morning. We'll have more continuing coverage straight ahead when KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas joins us live, and we'll ask him what possible prison sentence he feels the president's son could face.
KSL News Time now is 9:30. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's look at our top stories this hour. And, of course, it is what Dave and Debbie have been sharing with you. Hunter Biden found guilty on all charges. He's accused of lying about being addicted to drugs while purchasing a gun in 2018. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours before reaching the verdict. He's facing a potential 25 years in prison on those 3 charges. And as you just heard, David Dujanovic will have more analysis coming up. So stay with us. Other top national stories this hour from ABC News. Cleveland City Hall will remain closed this morning because of a cyber attack that happened Sunday night. Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb says they're still trying to figure out who attacked them and the total impact.
We do know that certain city data is currently unaffected. Those include taxpayer information held by CCA and customer information held by public utilities.
The mayor says their emergency services such as 911, police, fire, and EMS were not impacted. Here in Utah, last night's Senate debate ended with tempers flaring after Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs made a comment about Congressman John Curtis.
Staggs was the last to give a minute of closing remarks. He started it by saying this.
You know, on March 4th of 2020, Abbott Laboratories was awarded a federal grant. On that same day, John Curtis purchased stock in that company.
Curtis then chimes in.
That is such a low shot. You wait till I have no response. You throw something out I can't respond to. You've accused me of a felony.
After the debate, Staggs stood by what he said, though he claims he wasn't accusing Curtis of a felony. Curtis called the statement unfounded and challenged Staggs to produce evidence of it before telling him this.
If that's how you're going to work in Senate, the people of Utah would be very disappointed.
Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Right now, your money at this moment, the Dow is still down about 210 points. The S&P off just a fraction, down by 7, but the NASDAQ is in the green this hour. It's up by 36. Still ahead, triple-digit heat in the forecast, our first of the year, really. We'll check your forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
If you have a family member that is struggling with addiction, we cover this in the news. We're watching it right now happen with the Hunter Biden trial, and families get caught up in this. Well, Renaissance Ranch wants to help you, the family, be a support to that loved one. They offer free family support services. They do it through weekly online classes. They're open to the public, and you can attend as many of these classes as you wish. At Renaissance Ranch, they want to create this healing and hopeful experience because they know when family members and loved ones are involved in the recovery process, the research has shown that the possibilities of a positive outcome skyrocket. Classes are taught from a spouse's point of view, for parents, come from a personal perspective. There's a women's support group. There's even a couples recovery group. This is a best-in-state winning substance abuse and mental health treatment provider. They've been doing it for over 20 years. It's faith-based. If you want to participate in any of these free online classes, more than 1,000 people will show up during a month for these. So there's a great community. Just go to renaissanceranch.com to learn more about these free online classes. Learn more at renaissanceranch.com.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Hey, Benjamin, we've got a surprise for you.
What?
You have a brother. $100 bill just like you.
Hey, I'm Ben.
What?
We just got him for joining America First Credit Union and opening a new checking account.
And you're going to live together at America First.
What? This is nice.
For a limited time, new members get a $100 cash bonus when they open a checking account or $50 when they open a youth checking account. So head to AmericaFirst.com and get your money working today. Membership eligibility, terms, and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, friends. Dan, the laptop man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
Sounds like we still have an emergency traffic situation, so let's get the latest with traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. How are we looking out there, Michelle?
Well, not very good if you're headed southbound I-15 trying to get from Kaysville toward downtown. We're looking at about 5 miles of backup at this point. We do have all the lanes open except for the HOV lane. This is right about Glover's Lane. Once you get past that, you're going to see good speeds into downtown. But again, it's getting past that. You're going to see the delays just past 200 North in Kaysville. Is the IRS harassing you? Are tax problems ruining your life? Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox help. Visit taxhelput.com. That's taxhelput.com. I'm Michelle Rowan, the KSL Traffic Center.
We should hit a high today of 92, and then it really heats up. The Weather Center says we could hit 100 degrees tomorrow. Probably still get there on Thursday, although the official forecast high is 99 degrees. But here's the good news, 80s coming for the weekend. Right now in Salt Lake City with all that sunshine, it is 75 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We just watched video moments ago of the president's son, Hunter Biden, leaving the courthouse where a jury convicted him this morning. 30 minutes ago, we broke it live. All 3 counts in that gun case that he was facing, where he is accused of illegally purchasing a gun while he was an addicted person.
Witnesses at the trial included his girlfriend. He chose not to speak at the trial. That would have opened things up for a vigorous cross-examination, so he chose not to testify at this trial. But yeah, convicted on all 3 counts.
Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, live on the line with us. You there, Greg?
Yes, I'm here.
I guess I'm not surprised by the verdict. What I'm more surprised about is the jury turned the verdict around so quickly. So the evidence must have just been absolutely overwhelming.
Yeah, and if you listen to the first several witnesses that testified, Debbie, they included some people that were, at least at the time, very close to Hunter, who said that period of time in his life when he was purchasing that gun, he was a drug user, he was a drug addict, and he was actively using the drugs. And I think that it was a pretty compelling prosecution because these were people that were close to him, a girlfriend at the time, a family member at the time, and other people that were really just not seemingly out to get him in any way at all. People that were trying to, I think, be portrayed as objective and fair and just telling the truth. So the jury verdict doesn't surprise me at all. It was a quick verdict. It was the jury wasn't out very long, but the facts were fairly simple. The government simply had to prove that he made a false statement in connection with the purchase of a firearm, which was that he was not at that time a drug user or a drug addict.
Greg, I want to go back to 2023 when this charge specifically was all part of this plea deal that it seemed like the prosecution and the defense had hashed out and worked out. And then when they went before the judge started asking some questions saying, remind us, what was the judge asking and why did this plea deal fall apart?
What the judge was asking at the time is whether or not the plea deal encompassed everything that the government knew at that time about Hunter Biden. In other words, was it a summation of all of his charges? And the government said, no, we're still investigating other things. This is not the end all. And his attorney said, well, wait a minute. We thought this was the way to wrap up all of his current cases. If it's not, then we don't have a deal. And I think that was a huge mistake on Hunter Biden's attorney's part because this particular charge was part of that. And so was the upcoming failing to file his federal tax returns. Those two matters would have been adjudicated, and I don't know if there even are other cases that were being investigated, but the Biden team said, no, this is immunity for every other case that he's got. We want to wrap everything up, and the government said, no, it just deals with these two cases, and that's all.
Hunter Biden, the president's son, found guilty just about a half an hour ago on all counts. He was facing regarding an illegal purchase of a gun, and the jury in about 3 hours turned around a verdict. Greg, what is he looking at in terms of potential prison time, if any? Your thoughts?
Yeah, these are federal charges, and so they're a little different than the state charges that Donald Trump faced a couple of weeks ago. The federal court, you sort of plug people into just a matrix, and I assume that his matrix on these gun charges could be up to 5 years on each of the three counts. Given his lack of prior criminal history, it would be unlikely that he would do a significant period of time. But the federal courts and the federal sentencing system is much more strict than state. And so there may be a mandatory, as close as you can call it, mandatory time that he'd have to serve in the federal system. And so I wouldn't be surprised, Debbie, if he did a year in a federal prison.
Greg, I would like to get your thoughts on a comment that Fox News' Trey Gowdy, former congressman and lawyer, had made. He said both Trump and Biden, these cases wouldn't have been prosecuted if it weren't for having those last names. Trump and Biden, that they were specifically chosen because of their fame, so to speak.
Absolutely true. But that doesn't mean they didn't commit the crimes. So, there are crimes that are not typically prosecuted. I mean, in the federal system, we never see people prosecuted for this type of crime, and it happens all the time. Even in the Trump case, it was the kind of crime that we don't see prosecuted, and they were picked out. However, they both took advantage of the system. They both took advantage of having a jury trial, and I mean that in a positive way. They both, put their case to the test, and the jury convicted them. So, yes, these are crimes that wouldn't have been charged had they not had their last names, but they were charged and they were convicted, and the evidence supported both crimes. And that's just an unfortunate or maybe fortunate fact for both of these men.
Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, thank you so much for bringing your insights on this to the show right now as we continue our live coverage of Hunter Biden's guilty verdict, guilty on all 3 counts involving the illegal purchase of a handgun. Straight ahead, we'll ask Inside Sources' Boyd Matheson what he thinks this will do to President Biden's campaign for the White House. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. You may have heard that mortgage rates have come down over the last several months. While they are still higher than a few years ago, the change has brought some opportunities. Some simple math can help determine whether a refinance will be beneficial to you, even with a higher rate than you currently have. This can happen when you knock off enough other high-interest debt to lower your overall payments. We can go over this with you to see if it makes sense for your situation. We are currently saving many clients several $100s per month in payments using this strategy. And if you refinance using an FHA or VA loan, you will be eligible for a streamlined refinance when rates come down further. That's a win-win. Call us today to see if this would benefit you. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's. Save $40 on select 5-gallon HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams paint, like Weather Shield, Showcase, or ceiling paint. Plus, save $10 on drywall PVA primer and get free same-day delivery to the job site when you order by 2 p.m. Lowe's knows paint. Lowe's knows pros. Offers valid through 6/14. Delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Howdy, it's Julie from Logan. The price of gas is still outrageous, but thankfully, not all adventures are far and away. Escape to Logan for tons of fun. This Thursday through Saturday, head to Logan for Summerfest Arts Fair, our official kickoff to summer. You'll find 165 artists showcasing jewelry, fine art, crafts, live music, and great food. We've got a gardener's market every single Saturday. Next week, the Lyric Theater kicks off its season with the 1950s and 60s musical review, Shaboom. Chill on Center Street before or after the show and sink your teeth into hand-tossed sourdough pizza, a brew and a burger, hand-dipped chocolates, or delicious goodies from fun cafes. Things just keep getting better because there's so much going on. Don't forget, whenever you come, your hotel is only 10 minutes from the National Forest. Hiking and biking, birdwatching, fishing, and wildflower spying can't be beat. Take gorgeous photos and drink in the stunning scenery. Head to Logan for festivals and fun. You won't break the bank on less than a tank. ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
As CEO, CTO, COO, or anyone who owns or operates a company, you've got plenty of titles and, of course, grand ideas. What you may be short on is time and qualified personnel to bring that next big idea to life. Meet DevSimplify. The team, the experience, and the expertise to bring custom software and apps to life. DevSimplify specializes in building market-ready software, from SaaS, mobile and web apps, to custom e-commerce and system integrations. DevSimplify handles design, development, branding, even the big launch, collaborating with your existing brilliant team or managing the project all the way from start to finish. The experts at DevSimplify know just how complex and time-consuming developing software can be. At DevSimplify, it's simply what they do. Schedule your consultation and make your software vision a reality from design to launch, so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. DevSimplify.com. DevSimplify.com.
Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking lot. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a jury in Delaware has found Hunter Biden guilty on all charges in his federal gun case. Second, tempers flared at the end of last night's Senate debate when Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs made a last-minute comment about Congressman John Curtis buying stocks. And third, gas prices keep ticking down, and they're down 9 cents nationally over just the last week. We're going to look for a high today of 92 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, 75. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Hunter Biden, now a convicted felon, federal felon, regarding handgun charges, plural, he was just found guilty on. In our 9 o'clock hour, right out of the gates this morning, at the top of our show, a jury handed down its verdict. The president's son leaving the courthouse, and now, according to our KSL legal analyst, Greg Skordas, facing what he believes could be up to a year in prison.
Boyd Matheson joins us right now. Boyd, and I would like to talk a little bit about the political fallout, because there may or may not be some collateral damage. I think so many times parents have kids that make decisions, and they are adult children. They're responsible for their own actions. But will this bleed over and affect President Biden politically?
So I think there's a couple things to keep in mind. I think to your point, Dave, absolutely. He was a grown person. He was on his own. And so Hunter Biden's responsible for all of this. Has nothing to do with the president himself, for sure. I think the bigger case that could be the problem is the case that will be coming up shortly in Los Angeles about his tax evasion, which has shell companies and where there could have been much more potential ties to, quote, the family business. So this case in particular, I don't think has any ramifications. I think my worry about this particular case is that I think you're going to hear a lot of chatter. You're going to hear a lot of clamor from both sides of the political spectrum in terms of conflating this with what happened with President Trump. And it's just going to muddy the waters, and it continues to undermine the trust in the system, in the process. So I think from a strategy standpoint, politically, if I were the Democrats and the White House, I would say exactly what they said on the day of the former president's conviction, and that is, we trust the system. And if they say that and say, look, he's the son of a sitting president, clearly this was not motivated politically. Right. And so the justice system is working. So the White House could actually use this as a way to reinforce, look, the system is working because you've got a case against a former president. You have a case against Bob Menendez, a sitting senator. You got a case against a sitting president's son, and they're all working through the system the way they're supposed to.
In this circumstance, you talk about the tax evasion case that he faces in California, and then I flip it and compare it to the case that he was just found guilty in the gun case, and regarding the addiction in particular. That to me feels like it would be a low blow to go after somebody's addiction, and we all have different opinions on addiction, but unless you've been there with a family member and you're trying to save that family member, judgment should be spared, because I think there's all kinds of other issues tied to addiction that if you're fortunate if you're not one of those families like the Bidens that have been sucked into just horrible experiences regarding addiction. So does it feel for that reason this should not be used as political fodder, and maybe the former president should stay off Truth Social in all caps, blasting Hunter Biden out of the water for this?
Yeah,
or do you think he can't help himself?
I think this is one that all of us should just step back and say exactly what you just said, Debbie. Look, this is an unfortunate case, but the system worked, and there are consequences. So, yes, all the compassion for those that are dealing with addiction also has a gun element to it. So you have all of that, and the system works. And there are still, it's the absolute predictability of consequences. And Hunter Biden is now facing the consequences. He's got his life together. That's awesome. That's a great thing for him, for his family. All of that should be celebrated, and that's an important part of the conversation. And I don't think most of the American people are even watching this case in particular because it is just that, and they're busy doing everything else. I think the other case is the one where addiction won't be the excuse.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that one is the one that has more potential political damage.
I saw Trey Gowdy on Fox News say, and I asked Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, the exact same question, but Trey Gowdy said, I think both the Trump and the Biden convictions don't happen unless their last names are Trump or Biden. And Greg Skordas agreed with that. He said that being the case, they still broke a law. They had to go through the entire process. But I want to get your thoughts on this idea of having the wrong last name, so to speak.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing. There are things that do come with the family business, so to speak. When you are in the limelight, you are going to be singled out. You are going to be pointed out. But I think this is a good thing for the American people to stop and say, wait a minute, we always talk about the reverse of that. It's like, well, you have that good last name, and so you're making lots of money, or you're all famous, or you're living in a big house. But there's also the flip of that, which is because you have that last name and all the perks and privileges that go with that, you're also more likely to get caught doing something that isn't right, and there will be consequences. And so to me, this is a good day to just say, look, the system played out. The system worked, and Hunter Biden will have a chance to appeal, just like everyone else.
Sure.
And so it plays out. And I think the fact that the president has also said, I won't pardon him.
Let's play that audio. That's what he said to ABC's David Muir.
The jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is.
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
You have.
There you have it.
So no pardon. And so, again, I think I have to commend the president for taking the high ground on this to say, look, the system is working. And so for all the chatter about the system's rigged and all the targeting and all of that, this is a moment to say, Hunter Biden, son of a sitting president, found guilty on all three counts, and he has more things that he's going to have to face consequences for when he gets to the next trial.
And although this is unique in many cases, and President Trump's conviction unique in many cases, the fact that you have family members of a president and having issues, that is not unique. This goes all the way back to John Adams, our second president, had a son that died from alcoholism.
Yeah.
John Quincy Adams was thrown out of Harvard, I believe, because of too much partying and alcohol. So Billy Carter, we know his story, registered as a Libyan agent. I mean, so many times where family members, they get in trouble.
And there's such an interesting component to that, in that everyone in those circles, those are tight circles, and they're fiercely loyal, because a lot of times you are beaten back a lot of false accusations, and so you do get very tight and very fiercely loyal. And President Biden, you can say anything else about the president, he is fiercely loyal to his family. They are very thick in that relationship. And so I'm sure this is a devastating day for the Biden family, for President Biden and for Jill Biden, and we'll watch how that continues to play out.
The president's son, Hunter Biden, convicted about an hour ago on 3 counts that he illegally purchased a gun.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news. Hunter Biden, the president's son, has been found guilty on 3 counts in his federal gun case. The jury deliberated about 3 hours before announcing the verdict. He was convicted of lying on a background check form about his drug use when he bought a Colt revolver in 2018. Also found guilty of using drugs while he had possession of that gun. In total, the charges carry a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison. Legal experts say that would be unlikely given the lack of any prior convictions. 2 Utah men are being credited with rescuing a family of 3 from the Colorado River last Thursday. Gar Lausman and Daniel Wright were in the right place at the right time with the right equipment to save the 2 sons and a father from the swift water. KSL TV's Lauren Steinbricker spoke with Wright, who says he's grateful he was there in time to help.
I'm just really thankful, and I really just think God just had me right there at the right time.
And the family was safely transported to shore. Our top national story, the conviction of Hunter Biden on all 3 counts that he was charged with in federal court. And coming up, it looks like we'll see some sunshine today and not quite as hot as it's going to be later this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous You Don't Need a Warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our You Don't Need a Warranty warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Hi, I'm Rachel Terry, and I'm running for Attorney General. It's not difficult to tell what a person values. All you have to do is look at their record. As your next Attorney General, I promise to value the rule of law, just like I've done as a practicing attorney for the last 20 years. I promise to value transparent leadership. I promise to value the work of the Attorney General's office, just as I've done for other Utah agencies over the past decade. My record speaks for itself. I won't let you down. Vote Rachel Terry for Attorney General.
Paid for by Rachel for Utah.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Crews still working on an earlier crash southbound I-15 north of Center Street in Provo. The right lane is blocked, and southbound I-15 at the crash at Glover's Lane has now cleared. Open new worlds for the blind and disabled by volunteering to record books at the Utah State Library Program for the blind and disabled. Visit theblindlibrary.utah.gov/volunteer. I'm Michelle Rowan, the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny with temperatures in the low 90s today. Hotter tomorrow and Thursday with highs near 100. And right now we're at 82 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, you know that best friend you had, and then they kind of became a good friend, and then you really are like bugged by them because they signed up for a multi-level marketing campaign and they're like constantly poking you to buy. That's Utah's Republican Party. It's the new Utah Republican Party. They are pitching their delegate chosen candidates so hard, they're shoving the list of names in the faces and down the throats of Republican voters. Case in point, it's happening again today. This time, it's Utah County voters.
I kind of chuckle at that description, Deb, because I think that's the very job of the Republican Party, is you pick a candidate and you tell the normal Republicans that don't eat, drink, and breathe this stuff every single day. You say, hey, this is the candidate we're throwing our weight behind. We really like this candidate. The delegates like this candidate. So this is our candidate. So why are we surprised that they're sticking behind their candidate?
If you live in Utah County, you might have gotten one of these notices. It's entitled Republican Party Endorsed Candidates. These are the only candidates officially endorsed by the Republican Party. And the reason they have to do this, in my view, is because at the convention in April, the delegates just made a lot of choices that are just failing in the polls. When you start polling other Republicans outside the more right-leaning delegates in the party that select the candidates at convention, the rest of the Republicans are going like, yeah, no thanks. And so here are the only candidates officially endorsed by the Republican Party. And this is a message that's being put out by the Utah County Republican Party, or the wing of the Republican Party in Utah County, however you want to put it. For U.S. Senate, Trent Staggs. For governor, Phil Lyman. And then there's a list for auditor and attorney general as well. But those are the two that stood out to me because we know that Lyman and Staggs are just not polling well. And so to me, what the Republican Party is trying to do is like, bye. We know they're not doing well in the polls, but you got to go with what our delegates selected. And so let's remind you of what the list of names of our chosen candidates are.
And so far, it looks like the delegates are losing out to the signature gatherers. And that's almost how it is dividing up nowadays. It's almost a litmus test. Like, are you a convention nominee or are you a signature gatherer?
So this multi-level marketing approach to making, helping voters make their choice is really spreading because this started in Salt Lake County, Senator Mike McCall. We were talking to you about it yesterday. It was happening in Salt Lake County. And now this multi-level marketing campaign that's how I see it, has spread to Utah County. And I wonder if Republican voters who want to think for themselves and make their own choices or get a little fed up with the Republican Party. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? It's just not accurate, and it's just going to stir division. Look, the law. We're called a qualified political party. I know that's really technical, but with a qualified political party, which is what the Republican Party is, we pick a nominee through the caucus convention system or through signature gathering. What concerns me is this new flyer, specifically on this new flyer they sent out. We've got the official candidates, or we have the quote nominees, and that's just not accurate. That's not accurate under the law. Once the primary is over, we will have nominees, and until then, we don't have nominees, and these races are wide open. And it is interesting. Obviously, Governor Cox is polling much higher than Phil Lyman. John Curtis is polling much higher than Trent Staggs. To me, it's interesting that you would want to alienate that broad swath of Republican voters to support Spencer Cox, that support a John Curtis. To me, it's just weird. It's inappropriate, and it's confusing to voters.
So what kind of message would you send to the delegates right now?
The message I would send is it's a primary, and we're going to pick our nominee through the primary. And I think it's fine to say these are the candidates that advance the caucus convention, but I think it's also important to point out that we are a qualified political party. That's what we selected. That's what the law says. And we have signature gathering candidates as well that are Republicans, and we support them as well. But the majority of Republicans get to vote in a primary, and they get to select the nominee. And what concerns me is I've got this flashy flyer that says these are our nominees, and that's not accurate, and it violates the party's qualified political party status. It's just not accurate. It's not, and it's confusing to voters. I actually had a voter said, "Look, I understand you're voting for Spencer Cox." And I sure am. Well, isn't he an independent because he didn't win the caucus convention? And the answer is no. He's a Republican,
Wow.
and he chose a different path to the ballot, which was gathering signatures and creating this confusion and alienating the majority of voters that will vote. I mean, to me, I think it's fairly obvious that Spencer Cox will get elected. I think it appears right now John Curtis will get elected, and alienating the supporters of Governor Cox or John Curtis, to me, just doesn't seem prudent.
Yeah, I'm looking at this flyer that I pulled up online. It's on the website when I Googled Utah County Republican Party.org. And there it says
Right.
Utah County Republican Party nominees. So it does feel like this, to me, if I was looking at this, and I am looking at it, it's like, well, these are our Republican nominees now, and Spencer Cox doesn't stand a chance, yet he's the incumbent. And he's, up in the polls by like 40% over Lyman right now. Of course, they're going to debate tonight at 6 o'clock. I'll be listening to that live.
Right.
But I'm looking at this flyer, and I'm like, it does feel as though
Yeah.
it's not accurate.
Well, it's incredibly misleading, and it's intentional. Salt Lake County did it. Utah County did it. Other counties are doing it. And the point for your listeners is we will have nominees. The Republican Party will have nominees, but that will be decided on June 25th. We'll likely know who those nominees are for the Republican Party on June 26th. And that's because we're a qualified political party, and we allow candidates to go through the caucus convention system or gather signatures. And statutorily, we give equal weight to both paths. And right now, the party is misrepresenting to voters what was actually happening. And I think it's a troubling trend. Again, I'm not sure why the Republican Party wants to alienate the majority of Republican voters. That's what I think is happening. And that flyer in Utah County is a gross misrepresentation. It's not accurate. And we will have nominees, but again, not until after the primary.
We're speaking to State Senator Mike McKell. Do you feel like the caucus convention system is fighting for relevance?
I think so, and the reality is we need to be supporting our candidates. There's always a concern about the state going blue. I don't know why the Republican Party right now is spending so much money for flashy flyers before the primary picks candidates. That money should be spent in November once we have our actual nominees to defeat Democrats. And to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
State Senator Mike McKell, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we're going to continue discussing this with our KSL at Night host, Taylor Morgan. This is all over yet another flyer, very similar to the one we were talking about this week. This one says Utah County Republican Party nominees, and it has a photo at the top of it of Phil Lyman, and over Phil Lyman's photo is the word governor, and over Trent Stagg's photo is the words, U.S. Senate. So is the Republican Party, it just feels like y'all are falling apart. Let's ask Taylor Morgan what his take is next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
We have some incredible news, very exciting news. Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. You know, we know Master Electrical. We've been talking about Master Electrical for months. They've been your trusted source for all electrical needs, EV chargers, generators, recessed lighting, and now they've joined Mountain Home Services, so they can also help you with your HVAC, like your heating and air.
Yeah, and that's an important thing. You may have all sorts of problems over the life of your home, right? You're going to have electrical problems. You're going to have heating and air issues. My mom's going through that right now. So you can go out, you get some bids. It's one of the things that Mountain Home Services still does is they have this satisfaction guarantee, upfront pricing guarantee as well.
Yeah, Master Electrical, you've known them for a long, long time. They've been your trusted name since 1954. They service from like Logan to Santa Quin. So there's tons of people who have loved Master Electrical and the services that they provided. Now they're combining with Mountain Home Utah.
Learn more from mountainhomeutah.com. That's the website, mountainhomeutah.com, or check them out. Give them a call, 801-543-2222. That's 801, so easy to remember, 543-2222.
Are you using the KSL News Radio app to listen to your favorite shows whenever you want? You can podcast Utah's morning news, even after it's finished at 9. You can listen to Dave and Dujanovic or Boyd Matheson. Just click on the podcast tab. And you can stream Jeff Kaplan live between 3 and 7 right from the player. All of those shows, plus the KSL Greenhouse and Cougar Sports Saturday. They're on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
How long have you been dealing with joint pain in, say, a hip or a shoulder or maybe even your back? And how many things have you tried to make it better, and yet it seems like it's getting worse, and now it may even be risking not being able to do the things you love to do in the outdoors as we start to head to summer? May I suggest you look into QC Kinetics? It's the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, and they have lasting joint pain relief for some with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime, and they have arrived in Salt Lake City. So why would you put it off any longer? They have free consultations right now that could get you back to walking, running, hiking, even playing golf, and being able to move again pain-free. Wouldn't it be worth just getting some answers? Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility, and you can find them now in Mill Creek, Provo, and Bountiful. Call QC Kinetics today. 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987.
It's back, and you will be too, June 13th through the 15th at the Cache County Fairgrounds. It's the Summerfest Arts Fair, celebrating its 40th anniversary, featuring local and regional artists and musicians. You're gonna love this, like you loved it before. Art, painting, ceramics, music, food. Summerfest Arts Fair is loaded with all the things you and the family love the most. Then get set for an amazing lineup of musicians featuring headliners the Lonely Hearts Club Band, Wildwood, and the Solistics. Plus, enjoy other regional musicians like Highline Drifters and Fry Pan Band. This is where local, regional, and national artists come together to celebrate the arts. So discover 165 artist booths, 38 performing groups, and 30 food vendors, along with a plein air art competition. Get full details at logansummerfest.org. logansummerfest.org. Summerfest Arts Fair, June 13th through the 15th at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Get full details at logansummerfest.org.
Get Mr. Mac's Performance Missionary Package. Includes 1 performance suit, 4 and collar stretch shirts, 3 ties, 1 mission belt, 1 pair of Echo or Johnston & Murphy shoes. Just $595.
Want to save on some of the biggest names in streaming on the network made for streaming? X marks the spot. Now through September 21st, get 150 megabit Xfinity Internet for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And for just $15 a month, add the new Stream Saver that includes Peacock, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix. That's Xfinity Internet and Stream Saver for just $35 a month. All your favorites all in one place, only from Xfinity. So go ahead and binge some shows, stream some movies, and save some money all at the same time. For more watching and less spending, X marks the spot. Switch to Xfinity, the network made for streaming, and bring on the good stuff. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Equipment taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Currently $54 a month. Actual speeds vary. Stream Saver requires Xfinity, Internet, or TV, and price subject to change.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, President Biden's son Hunter has been convicted on 3 counts of violating firearms laws by a federal court jury in Delaware. Second, 3 members of a family were rescued from the Colorado River near Moab. And third, the price of gasoline dropping just in time for summer road trips. 82 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, like an annoying multi-level marketing scheme in Utah, it seems that the Utah Republican Party is really trying so hard to pitch their own candidates that were chosen at the convention that they're sending out flyer after flyer. This one is hitting Utah County now, where they list the delegate chosen candidates only and leave any of the others who've signature gathered off of the list of possibilities.
And this was the frustration of Senator Mike McKell, who we just spoke to. He said, listen, everybody on the primary ballot right now, all those Republicans, they're all ours. We claim all of them. Now, they may not all agree on everything, but they are all Republicans, so we should support all of them and stop, I guess, added weight and importance to those that won and came out of caucus convention.
I don't remember this being a thing in the past for the Republican Party. It seems like this has just spun up in the last couple of weeks. I think it's strictly because they're scared to death that their convention is becoming obsolete. It's like a dinosaur. And people that are chosen at convention to be, on the ballot by the 4,000 delegates who go to this convention, which this one was held in April of this year at the Salt Palace, they're becoming more and more irrelevant as well because their choices, the people they're picking to put on the ballot, are not registering with many others in the Republican Party. So much so that, I'll give you an example. Phil Lyman made it out of convention. A little-known lawmaker from San Juan County. It's a county none of you have been to. Maybe one of you. I've been. In fact, I went down there years ago to talk to Phil Lyman. But now he is the Republican the Republican delegate's choice to be on the ballot for the primary. He's barely registering the polls, folks. Barely registering in the polls. You start asking other Republicans outside of the convention, "Hey, what do you think about Phil Lyman?" They're probably like, "Who?" No, we're gonna pick Cox. He's done a good job. He's an incumbent. We're gonna pick him. We're gonna go with. He's polling way over 60% right now. So this to me is like a matter of just for the Republicans, Dave. They continue to try to find relevance in their convention process. They're afraid it's going away, and that Republican voters are seeing it for what it really is. It's the far right of the Republican Party going to convention and picking their candidates.
Well, those are 2 very clear examples right now, recent examples where it seems like the convention process maybe is out of touch. We also saw where the convention process worked very well for Celeste Malloy. Just a few months ago, she got out of caucus convention. It was a special election. She was unknown, but once she got the support of the GOP party, she wins her race. It was a very powerful tool for her, and there's a lot of politicians that say, I would not be elected. I never would have been elected if it weren't for the caucus convention system.
Taylor Morgan, KSL at Night host. I feel as though the Republican Party is just, and they're not only fighting for relevance for their convention. I think that it sounds like they're falling apart. What are your thoughts?
Debbie, I think you're right. Listen, the caucus convention process has never worked over the last 100 years. It hasn't even been necessary. It is an antiquated relic of centuries past when you actually needed to hitch up the horse and buggy and send someone from St. George to make the weeks-long journey to Salt Lake City to go represent you at a party convention. Since that time, with modern methods of voter participation, the caucus convention process is absolutely obsolete. And yes, it's fun, it's quaint. A lot of people, well, not a lot, Debbie and Dave, because no one attends caucus meetings. Very, very few Republicans go because it's, functionally impossible to attend if you can't be there in person. Very few Republicans go, but those who do like to they like to sit around and talk about politics, but it really does not work, and it is a process that is not at all reflective of the 900,000 active registered Republicans throughout Utah.
Taylor, I would say, though, and as kind of the director of Count My Vote, the signature gathering path, I look at what it takes to gather signatures if I want to run. If I want to run for the House, I may have to pay $70,000 to have a company gather signatures. If I want to run for the Senate, it's closer to $300,000 to gather those signatures. That's a lot of money. If you go through the convention caucus, you may be able to do it on a shoestring, which many candidates have done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Dave, I appreciate you mentioning my role. Just in the interest of disclosure, transparency, I do serve as the executive director of Count My Vote. I have for the last decade. We worked to implement the signature gathering path, 2 primary elections in Utah. We did that back in 2014. Dave, we hear this argument about the caucus convention path somehow enabling everyday people to become candidates. It's simply not true. In fact, historically, more money has been spent by candidates in the caucus convention process than even in primary elections because candidates will wine and dine delegates. They'll send them all kinds of mailers. They'll take them out to eat. They'll give them expensive swag. Money has influence in our elections regardless of which path to the primary ballot candidates take. The difference is in a caucus convention process, all of that money is being spent on less than 0.5% of voters. In a primary election, we see much higher rates of participation. I think a really good case in point here, going back to Debbie starting this segment, comparing Phil Lyman versus Governor Spencer Cox. Phil Lyman won 67% at the state Republican Party convention. That's a grand total of 2,800 delegates. Spencer Cox qualified for the ballot with 28,006 registered Republicans signing to nominate him. It's about representation. And I have to make this point, Republican Party. Bring it in, guys. Let's take a knee. I don't know if you know this. Elections are about math. Whoever wins the most votes wins. You want more Republicans voting in your elections. You want to nominate candidates who have the most support from the most voters in the state of Utah.
Taylor,
bring it in, guys. Take a knee. Got a little coaching to do.
I was thinking if I was getting another one of these flyers in the mail or it dropped in my inbox, which the Republican Party has been sending out, with who they say their chosen ones are. And then, you've seen Phil Lyman at the top of the flyer and Trent Staggs, Mike Kennedy. You don't see any of the other faces of others who are running. It's just the ones that made it out of convention. It reminds me of, when I get home, every night there's a flyer on my front door from a new company wanting to mow my yard. And I'm like, I literally have a townhome, the HOA mows it. And at some point I just start pitching those flyers in the recycle bin and they become annoying. And to me, the GOP in Utah is becoming, annoying. They're that lawn company that keeps putting a flyer on my front door, and they keep shoving their candidates in voters' faces. And I think at some point, Republican voters are just going to get sick of it.
Debbie, if only the Republican Party provided something as useful as lawn care. They don't even do that. These delegates don't even do a good job of vetting candidates. They come in, they have predispositions, their values, their priorities. We know based on research, studies by the Utah Foundation, party delegates do not represent everyday voters in this state. This is all to promote themselves and prop up their own relevancy, which they are so desperate for, because clearly Republican convention candidates do not reflect Republican voters, and they are scared to death of that.
Taylor Morgan, thank you for joining us. So good. What a great analogy. Hey, Coach. Thanks. I'm inspired. I'm going to run through a wall for you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Taylor.
Well, here on KSL at night, of course, tonight from 6 to 7 is the governor's debate. Governor Cox, Phil Lyman facing off. We'll be listening. Let's talk about the U.S. Senate race and what happened between candidate Trent Staggs and Representative John Curtis.
You've accused me of a felony here tonight. You better have very good evidence, and I'd like to challenge you to produce that evidence.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: Utah now set to execute its first death row inmate in more than a decade. A judge has officially signed an execution warrant for Tabaron Honey, who was sentenced to death 25 years ago for the murder of his ex-girlfriend's mother in Cedar City. He's set to receive a lethal injection August 8th. He'd be the first person executed in Utah since 2010. UDOT will be repaving portions of State Street in Salt Lake City. This will happen mostly at night between 30th South and 4th South. Through Sunday, there will be parking restrictions and closures of side streets and uneven pavement during that construction project. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the jury in Hunter Biden's trial has reached a verdict, guilty on all 3 counts. ABC's Terry Moran has more outside the court in Wilmington, Delaware.
The jury was out for about 3 hours total. 1 hour yesterday, 2 hours today. They had no questions for the judge during their deliberations that we have heard of at this point, and so this was a relatively swift verdict.
Biden was found guilty for lying on a form to obtain a firearm and illegal possession of a firearm. Biden had been battling drug addiction. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 304 points. The NASDAQ is up just 8. And our KSL weather: it's going to get real hot tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
You know, when I was growing up, Tim, I thought I knew things about food. This food was good for you. This food was not good for you. Mm-hmm. Of course, that all turned out to be completely wrong, which I found out when I got my own nutritionist at SOTA Weight Loss. That's SOTA weightloss.com. She is a text away, still to this day, that I can ask her anything. And really, you get like a whole new education, which is what Avery said.
I feel like you're enrolling in like a school of nutrition with a whole new perspective on what food is and what it does for your body. That kind of makes the biggest difference, is it teaches people about food.
So when you go to sodaweightloss.com, you'll see a button right there. It just says request a nutritionist callback. Click on that button.
And here's the other great thing. You're going to save 15% on the program when you do and start that relationship with that nutritionist who becomes your best friend along the way while you reach your goal weight. Again, go to sodaweightloss.com. It's spelled SOTA, and it stands for State of the
Art.
Hey, it's me, your liver. You know, the organ that helps you recover every weekend after pizza, donuts, and all those drinks. When you have a headache, you take an aspirin. You have a stomach ache, you pop an antacid. But where's the love for your best buddy, the liver? The least that you could do to help me stay healthy is take Active Liver from New Nordic. Active Liver tablets contain high-quality, all-natural ingredients like milk thistle, globe artichoke, and turmeric extracts, which are proven to keep me healthy and you feeling your best. Active Liver provides an easy daily detox and helps protect me all year long. So let me make you an offer you can't refuse. You take care of me with Active Liver, and I keep taking care of you. Capiche?
See for yourself why Active Liver is Scandinavia's #1 liver health supplement. You can find Active Liver at CVS and online at Amazon, Target.com, or directly from NewNordicUSA.com. Again, find it in stores at CVS or online at Amazon, Target.com, or NewNordicUSA.com.
Paid for by Lyman for Utah.
In 2020,
COVID changed our lives. We were looking for answers. We were scared. We hoped the government would give us some help. And that government betrayed us. Government officials chose to exploit this moment and to enrich their friends. Our state bought masks that didn't protect, tests that did not work. People lost faith in our government institutions. We have a chance to fix this. We can vote for something different. If you feel the way I do, I'm asking for your vote.
Phil Lyman for governor.
Attention homeowners considering roof replacement in 2024. Light up your home this June with Master Roofing. Schedule your roof replacement by the end of June and receive a free V-Lux sun tunnel valued at $1,200. Perfect for brightening your bathrooms and hallways. Don't miss out. Visit masterroofingutah.com to schedule your free assessment and claim your free V-Lux sun tunnel. Call 801-383-0072 or visit masterroofingutah.com today. Light up your home with Master Roofing.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, a crash or disabled vehicle southbound I-15 at the S-curves in Provo does have the right lane blocked, and they've been having traffic going through and then stopping traffic, so you're going to see some slowdowns going through that area. Hey, Utah, summer has come alive. All better in a new vehicle from Murdoch Chevrolet right now. Take $10,000 off a new Silverado, $1,500. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for sunny skies today with a temperature close to 90 degrees, but then tomorrow it warms right up to about 100 and stays hot for the next couple of days after that. Right now, 79 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. The debate for U.S. Senate. In-depth coverage on KSL News Radio.
And I listened to that debate, all 1 hour of it last night live right here on KSL News Radio. And for the most part, the debate seemed quite normal, like even kind of boring at times. But then at the very end of the debate, this moment happened when Trent Staggs tried to drop a bombshell that I felt immediately backfired. I could feel it in the moment that this was going to backfire on it. He seemed like a candidate who's far behind in the polls, which he is. And then he said this about Curtis, Dave, at the very end of the debate and didn't have any proof.
You know, on March 4th of 2020, Abbott Laboratories was awarded a federal grant. On that same day, John Curtis purchased stock in that company.
And we'll see. I don't know if we know if it's backfired or not. I can see where you'd think that, or I could understand that, but I think it's yet to be seen whether or not it backfires, because that is a very bold and strong statement to basically accuse the representative of our state or one of the representatives of impropriety, because that's what he's alluding to.
Well, here's where it backfired in the moment for Staggs, Dave, is that I felt like he didn't think that Curtis was going to get a word in because it was the very end of the debate. They were making their closing statements. Through luck of the draw or unluck of the draw, Staggs goes last. He drops that bombshell, and I thought the moment I heard it, Curtis isn't going to get a chance to respond because Staggs knew that they were going to run out of time. The debate was going to wrap up. But congrats to the moderator, Glenn Mills, who gave Curtis the time. Reluctantly gave him the time, but he gave him the time. And here's where Curtis came back and said, hold on a minute. You haven't shown any proof, and you've just accused me of a felony.
You've accused me of a felony here tonight. You better have very good evidence, and I'd like to challenge you to produce that evidence.
And Staggs didn't produce anything. He didn't produce anything, and we've asked him, produce the evidence. Come on the show. Tell us what it is. If there's something there, if there's there, then let us know. I don't think there's a there.
Leah Murray, KSL at Night host and director of the Walker Institute of Politics. Oh, we got her next, actually. Sorry. I want to ask her about that because after the debate, they talked about this in depth because it was one of these shocking aha moments It was being done in the closing statements. Again, kind of the last word in. And John Curtis came in. He's like, you have to let me respond to this.
You've accused me of a felony here tonight. You better have very good evidence, and I'd like to challenge you to produce that evidence.
And that was Curtis's immediate response, and good for him. He deserved that moment.
Now, one of the things that I think it's a fair question to ask, because I do wonder how our congressmen, not these ones specifically, but how Congress keeps doing so well in the stock market. So this is a direction and a conversation that I think we need to have. There are laws that have been passed that put parameters and guardrails around our representatives of what they can and can't do in the stock market. For example, Deb, Warren Buffett made 15% return last year. I'm just reading this off of Yahoo Finance. 15%, that's a pretty good return. I'd be happy with 15%. Do you know what Representative Brian Higgins out of New York made last year? 239% return on his stock trading. And it's not just the Democrats. Republican Representative Mark Green, he made 122% return on his stock trades. Garrett Graves out of Louisiana, Republican, he made 108% return on his trades.
Are you saying they're shady?
I'm just saying those numbers are far outperforming the market. So we have seen abuses made in stock trading back in 2008, and they passed a law that asked and required more transparency from members of Congress because they receive information that is not open to the public, and they have to be able to justify and disclose when they're making certain stock trades.
But candidate Staggs didn't have any proof. He didn't have the receipts. I think we're having two separate conversations. If you want to have a conversation, which you absolutely can, about concerns over, insider trading or information that might get to Congress, that's one conversation. But to stand on a debate stage and accuse somebody of something you have no proof of is just, it's wrong. In fact, I immediately looked up, could he possibly be getting this information from? And this is what candidates do. They take advantage of the moment. They say something salacious. They make a wild allegation. And then they put the other candidate on their heels trying to defend themselves. So the Salt Lake Tribune reported on this issue 4+ years ago. And they reported there was a stock that was bought not by John Curtis, but by a mutual fund manager. Dear candidate Staggs, do you know what a mutual fund is? It's almost like a 401k where they go out, they have a manager over there. Yeah, I don't know how many stocks I have or where I have them with. I don't know if I even have Amazon. I don't know. I should. I don't know if I have Abbott Laboratories, which is what Staggs was accusing Curtis of. I should. They were responsible for COVID testing. I should. I would have been mad if my mutual fund manager didn't buy me some Abbott Laboratory. But Curtis said to the Tribune, I didn't even know that they'd purchased some stock. And it seemed like such a tiny amount anyways. It was like, why in the world would this come up 4 years later? Well, it's because Staggs is desperate. He's desperate. He's behind in the polls. And so he brings this up, hoping at the last minute of the debate, Curtis wouldn't have a chance to respond. Well, he did respond during the debate and after, when the media started asking him questions.
Let's see. Well, they didn't attack the way I tuck in my shirt. That's been done before. Listen, I thought really the one that was the elephant in the room was very unfortunate a tactic of Mr. Staggs, who clearly waited until there was no rebuttal to throw something at me that, of course, had no foundation, that was a cheap shot. And I think the thing that's unfortunate about it is Mr. Staggs, his whole campaign is about, the dirtiness of Washington and how he's going to go fix that. And I think he really showed his hand, right? I mean, that's what people hate about Washington. Let's be straight up. If you feel that way, let's say it, but don't do what you did. And to me, I feel like Utah's got a really good look into what they would get if he was their senator. And I don't think that's what they want.
Mr. Stagg's attack aside, do you think that it just highlights?
But what happened with Trent Staggs after? Well, he doubled down. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
When I joined Salt Lake City Fat Loss and their program, they told me early on in my initial conversation, it was a consultation, they said, we have the secret to losing up to a pound of fat every single day. And I laughed out loud. I thought that would be incredible. I would love that for that to happen, but there's no way. They said, yeah, many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in just a month or two, and results can be even greater in many cases. And that's what I experienced. In 2 months, 60 days, I lost 57 pounds, and I feel great. It was very easy to stay motivated with the program because the results were so fantastic. And I knew, like, I just got to keep going. When times got hard, I would just look at that scale. I'd weigh myself every single day, and I could see, all right, I can keep going, even though it can be difficult at times. And then they've taught me now how to keep it off. And that was an important part of it, of the second phase of it. So if you're interested in losing some weight safely, naturally, without surgery, without injections, without point counting, and exercising, and without prepackaged meals, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Their website's easy to remember, slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. You can schedule your free consultation in person or virtually. Just check them out at slcfatloss.com.
Hello, this is Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. I'm running for re-election to keep Utah's conservative values in Washington, D.C. Like you, I'm tired of a government that spends too much, listens too little, and makes all of our lives harder. In Washington, I'm pushing back against bad ideas, liberal policies, and politicians who've been there longer than I've been alive. Keep me in Washington so I can keep fighting for you, because we're just getting started.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
When you're getting a new roof installed, you don't want to wonder, when are they going to be done? Or even worse, what are they doing up there? You'll never have to ask when you hire IWC Roofing, because their team of certified installers will be texting you pictures from the roof. You're going to know exactly what's going on and what you're getting for your money. And on most homes, they'll do the entire job in one day. In, out, cleaned up, and they'll even power wash your driveway just to say thank you. Now, you think you'd pay a premium for this level of service, but IWC does so many roofs, they get the material for less, and they pass the savings on to you. IWC is an Owens Corning certified platinum contractor. Of course, financing is available. Even better, their summer special, up to $2,000 off your quote. But you have to make the call. $2,000 off right now. Call IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
A fiduciary has the regulatory obligation to put your best interest first. Trajan Wealth is a financial fiduciary for your investments. With Trajan Wealth, the more you make, the more we make. Our interests are aligned. Most other financial advisors are brokers held to a lesser standard and are paid an upfront commission to sell you something. Call Trajan Wealth 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Hunter Biden has been convicted on 3 firearms violations, faces the possibility of a prison sentence. Second, a judge in Cedar City signed an execution warrant yesterday for Tabaran Honey, who's been on Utah's death row for 25 years. Third, the last minute of yesterday's debate between Republican Senate candidates erupted in controversy. 79 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. The debate for U.S. Senate. In-depth coverage on KSL News Radio.
Well, I was watching the debate last night when John Curtis, he took a moment right after Trent Staggs tried to accuse him of what Curtis interpreted as insider trading.
You've accused me of a felony here tonight. You better have very good evidence, and I'd like to challenge you to produce that evidence.
And that was by far the most memorable, maybe even distracting. In fact, I can definitely say it distracted from everything else that happened in that past hour.
It absolutely did, and I felt it backfired on Trent Staggs immediately because I didn't think he was expecting that the moderator would give John Curtis just a few seconds to rebut what had just been lobbed out there, like put out there in the universe for voters who are listening to KSL News Radio and to other sources, this debate, to like what? He did what? And in fact, I thought that after the debate ended and that when Staggs was, Curtis fried Staggs on it, I thought Staggs would back down. Instead, it sounded to me like he was talking to reporters. He doubled down.
Well, look, it's a factual statement. You can take a look at it. And
What
this
is the evidence of that, though? Like, are you going to provide evidence for the accusation of a felony?
Look, I did not accuse him of a felony. This is the problem, that it's allowed in Congress to go ahead and trade stocks in that way. I think it's a problem, don't you?
So to be clear, you weren't accusing him of insider trading?
I was not accusing him of a felony. Look, what I said is that on the same day that a company was granted or given a grant, that he traded stock in that same day.
And this has not just been a criticism of Republicans or Democrats. This has been a complaint to all of Congress about what they can and can't do when it comes to trading. You and I, we can trade stocks, we can buy, we can sell, but Congress does have a unique insight. They have control of government contracts. They have knowledge, insider knowledge that gives them a leg up in the market. And there are parameters where they can sell. There's guardrails what you can and can't do. But there's been a lot of members of Congress that have made a lot of money in the stock market.
The problem for Staggs with that allegation, to me, Leah Murray, KSL at Night host, you were listening to the debate last night, that Staggs didn't bring the receipts. And I thought this moment backfired for him. What were your thoughts?
No, I totally agree. I love how you just said that. He didn't bring the receipts. He raises it in his closing statement because he thinks no one's going to get to be able to talk. But the point is, like the explanation he does in the media scrum, voters are probably not going to hear that. Does that make sense? Like most people are watching the debate and then they turn it off. He should have made that argument about the insider trading and why we think it's sketchy and everything Dave just said, right, in the debate, off another question, not in the closing statement, because all of us watching were like, if you knew what he was talking about, you knew what he was talking about, right? But voters didn't get a full explanation, so he doesn't score the point as a result.
Well, and that would have been an incredible win had they asked, do you have the receipts? Do you have the proof? And he, dumps out the portfolio of evidence. Then that could have been a very powerful moment. Instead, it was almost like, well, I mean, you can look it up for yourself. You can see it. It's like your accusation, your burden of proof.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And he knows, right? Like we know KSL TV was going to be fact-checking. Journalists are paying attention to this stuff. So maybe you drop it in your closing statement. You don't really expect Curtis to respond the way he does. But then you come to the media scrum. I love how you just said that with the portfolio. And then today's stories, right, are very different because all the media who heard that would have run with that as opposed to he didn't have the receipts. He kind of did this and he fumbled.
I was glad the moderator allowed for John Curtis to come back and respond, because when I heard that allegation, the first thing I thought of is what? And not remembering back 4 years ago that the Salt Lake Tribune wrote an article about it, and it was really kind of like a mutual fund manager with John Curtis as a mutual fund. Well, a lot of us have mutual funds, and a lot of us have 401ks. We have no idea what our mutual fund manager is buying. And that he might have bought some Abbott Laboratory stock, which is what Staggs was kind of holding on to. Well, this doesn't even register with me. I'm like, so what? Who cares? I have a 401k right now, and do I know if I have Amazon stock or Abbott stock or whatever? I mean, I'm just glad I have a 401k. You know what I'm saying, Leah? So I was like, he didn't want that explanation out there. Staggs didn't, because it sounded so salacious, as though, Curtis is up to no good. And he made it sound like Curtis is sitting behind, like he's a keyboard commander over there, commando buying up all this stock. And this was a nothing burger to me. This is really a nothing burger.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm not sure voters would necessarily see that nuance, right, Debbie? So if Staggs had played that better, then you've got Curtis like kind of explaining it. Really, it's just in my portfolio, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All of that leaves room for interpretation, right? So Staggs would have done better. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like that would have landed differently with voters, I think, who maybe don't know all of those details. And maybe voters who don't have 401ks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Leah, this is something, though, I think bothers a lot of people, is when you start looking, and there's a lot of different websites that track congressional trades or Congress members that trade stocks. They have to publicly disclose this, and then these websites track them. And what they're finding is that these lawmakers are outperforming the market. In fact, I'm looking at a Yahoo Finance report right here that says Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, made 20 times her salary in just one trade. She made $4 million because she purchased NVIDIA, or her husband did. And there was, a big controversy behind that. But there have been laws put in place after some huge gains by members of Congress.
Yeah, and I think oh my gosh, it's such a good question to ask, right? And what you wanted maybe was the moderator to ask, right?
Yeah.
John Curtis that question. My point is, excellent question to ask. I think people are twitchy about it. I think it's very analog to students on campuses demanding their universities divest from Israel, right? So everyone's kind of aware of who's got what in what stock portfolio and what that looks like. It's a good topic maybe, but man, it just wasn't delivered well. Does that make sense? Like dropping it in the closing statement. Curtis is a master class of debating. He's not going to let that go. And then we leave that debate, and Curtis won the point on something that maybe he should be explaining.
Well, and here we are talking about it the next day, and my conversation about it hasn't been favorable to Trent Staggs, who's the mayor of the town, one town over from where I live. I shop in his city regularly. And I was just really disappointed with him ending the debate and his closing statements being about that. And so, I thought, why would he even bother to bring that up? Well, it was one of those, in my view, a low blow moment that happens so often on the national debate stage. For me, just personally, I was just disappointed in that moment for him.
Yeah, and exactly what Dave said earlier. It erased everything that happened the hour prior, right? So if you were Trent Staggs and you actually had landed some points, right, you were making some good cases to voters, no one's talking about it, right? All we're talking about is this right here and how he looked when he did that, and all of us are kind of uncomfortable about it. You're exactly right.
And Trent Staggs did clarify in his statements afterwards. He said, I was not accusing John Curtis of a felony. What my point is I think members of Congress should be banned from individual trading of stocks. I think they should be banned from becoming lobbyists, at least for a period of time after they serve in Congress. But again, that was not, as clear in those debate moments.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Leah, look forward to hearing your coverage and your ongoing coverage throughout this debate season. Of course, another debate tonight. You can hear it here live from 6 to 7 right here on KSL News Radio. It'll be Governor Spencer Cox and Phil Lyman, who will be debating from 6 to 7 right here on KSL News Radio. Boyd Matheson joins us next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Last night's debate between Republican Senate candidates ended with tempers flaring after Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs made a comment about Congressman John Curtis. Here's KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Staggs was the last to give a minute of closing remarks. He started it by saying this.
On March 4th of 2020, Abbott Laboratories was awarded a federal grant. On that same day, John Curtis purchased stock in that company.
Curtis then chimes in.
That is such a low shot. You wait till I have no response. You throw something out I can't respond to. You've accused me of a felony.
After the debate, Staggs stood by what he said, though he claims he wasn't accusing Curtis of a felony. Curtis called the statement unfounded and challenged Staggs to produce evidence of it before telling him this.
If that's how you're going to work in Senate, the people of Utah would be very disappointed.
Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Gasoline prices dropping across the country, about 9 cents cheaper in the past week. The AAA spokesperson says we've seen weak demand for gasoline, along with lower prices for crude oil. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 281 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up 18. And our KSL weather, it'll get hot tomorrow and the next day. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Stem cell therapy, revolutionizing the medical industry, changing everything. Find out how stem cells might help you. Meet a stem cell expert who has successfully treated patients with cutting-edge therapies for many years, delivering transformative results and improving countless lives. Hear stories about how stem cells have helped so many people in so many ways and might be right for you. Join others, ask questions, hear about real-life cases. This Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehigh. Get your questions answered. Register at eventbrite.com, stem cell therapy, or by calling 866-STEM-EVENT. This is a free event open to anyone who is interested in learning about the wonders of stem cells. This Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehigh. Register at eventbrite.com, stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT.
I'm Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm recording from the Tucson sector of our southern border, and nobody's here. Our government should defend our territory. But President Biden, Mitch McConnell, and career politicians are funding war in other countries while the cartels are waging unchecked war here on American soil. I'm standing up to build the wall, end catch and release, and secure the border. Stand with me.
I'm Jason Walton. The cost of food, gas, and interest rates have all risen because career politicians are addicted to spending, causing the federal debt to go up and our money's value to go down. My opponents are all big spending career politicians. But I'll stop runaway inflation by passing a balanced budget amendment, forcing the government to spend only what we give them. I'm Jason Walton, a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
We have some exciting news to announce.
Master Electrical Service has joined Mountain Home Services.
And I can speak from experience, Deb. Mountain Home Services installed my furnace years ago, and it's been amazing.
And we know Master Electrical Service has been your trusted source for all your electrical needs, like your EV chargers, your generators, and recessed lighting.
But now that they've joined Mountain Home Services, they can help you with your HVAC, your heating and air, as well as your plumbing.
And it comes with that upfront pricing guarantee. I love the upfront pricing guarantee because it means no hidden fees.
100% satisfaction guarantee as well.
Master Electrical Service has been the name you trust since 1954.
They're the company we trust, and so can you.
Check them out now at mountainhomeutah.com.
That's mountainhomeutah.com, or give them a call at 801-543-2222. So easy to remember, 801-543-2222.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
The crash that we had in Davis County westbound on Hillfield Road at Main Street in Layton had been blocking the intersection, has just cleared, and traffic getting through the area just fine. No problems on your Valley freeways or main secondaries. Start your summer drive with a new auto loan from Cypress Credit Union and enjoy competitive rates and flexible terms. Visit cypresscu.com or ask for Cypress at the dealership. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny today with temperatures in the low 90s. Hotter tomorrow and Thursday with highs near 100. And right now 82 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Look, you're going to hear a lot of allegations over the next few weeks as we head into the end of the month primary. And Boyd's going to join us in just a moment about, when political season goes awry. We've heard a lot of it lately, some just crazy allegations that are not backed up by any sort of proof whatsoever. And Dave, you and I have been talking about it this morning regarding what happened last night at the U.S. Senate debate for Senator Mitt Romney's seat between Staggs and Curtis. And there's a potential that we're going to hear more of that kind of stuff.
I'll tell you this, there was elements of this that I do want to hear in a debate. I would like to know, should there be a complete and total ban on members of Congress trading stocks? There's probably a discussion to be had there of when they can be a lobbyist. Should it be immediately after? Should there be a waiting period? These are good conversations to have because I want to know why Nancy Pelosi, making $200,000 a year, now has a net worth of $114 million, or the Mitch McConnell is $35 million. Like, where's all this money coming from? Why are members of Congress outperforming the stock market? These are valid questions that we should ask. But if you're going to attack somebody, if you're going to accuse someone directly, I need the portfolio. I need the ironclad evidence that if there's some impropriety, prove it to me. Because otherwise, it looks like a cheap shot, a very cheap shot, Boyd.
Yeah, and I think the important thing for us as voters, as we go down the path, especially during the last weeks of a campaign, desperate campaigns always do desperate things. And it doesn't matter whether it's for president of the United States or for a city council race. I always call it silly season. And it goes everything from an accusation that has no merit, no proof or anything to, so-and-so hates puppies to, Deb doesn't like vanilla ice cream. She's going to ban it.
That's true, though.
She's going to ban it.
That would be true.
So beware.
I would ban it.
So you get all of those kinds. And so the first thing I say to voters is if it sounds a little outlandish, it probably is. And it's probably a wild swing in the closing days of a campaign. So that's an important thing to remember. The other thing that I think everyone should remember is accusations are easy. They're easy. And it doesn't require any courage and it doesn't require any facts in today's world because everything just gets perpetuated online. And so, one, we have to get back to the let's not reward bad behavior model. And so we shouldn't reward people for making wild accusations without any proof. Because let me tell you from experience, I have sat with candidates across the spectrum who have been attacked wildly by an opponent with something that is absolutely fabricated and untrue. And the candidate has to make a choice. Do I talk about it? And in talking about it, they're actually giving their opponent oxygen. They're giving the story some credence and oxygen that they're responding to it. And so in many cases, the politically correct thing to do is to not do anything, to not say anything. And I'm telling you, I've sat in some rooms with some members of Congress from around the country, and tears and frustration, and they're attacking my integrity. This is everything I stand for. And they'll be told, just don't say anything. Just don't say anything. You just have to take it. It's just part of the deal. And so they don't. And so then it kind of goes away, or maybe it doesn't. It usually resurfaces in another campaign ad in your next election cycle.
So you can't ever shake it.
So you never get to shake it.
Even though it's not true.
Yeah. And you know it's not true. And so, but if you don't come out and attack it or defend it, then you're sort of half admitting it, or your opponents will say you're admitting it. He hasn't responded to this. She hasn't said anything about that. And that's the dilemma. And then we wonder why we don't have enough good people running for office. Because why would you, if you can't even stand up for your own integrity, because of the way the political process is rewarding bad behavior? And that's a tough one, because a lot of these things take so long to prove out anyway. I remember one candidate was accused of something, and a motion was filed by an outside group with the ethics office in the House. And that became campaign fodder for 2 election cycles. 4.5 years later, the ethics committee came back and said there was not a single thing done wrong. This person did everything by the book, exactly the way they were supposed to. But that's 2.5 election cycles down. And we wonder why we end up with my favorite word, kakistocracy, governing by the least credible people to govern. That's what we get, because we reward the people who are willing to say anything to get elected.
Well, I think about how many people don't want to run because they're worried about something. You say one wrong thing or incorrect, inaccurate thing about somebody, it ruins lives, it ruins careers, it could ruin their potential campaign if they want to run. So who wants this? I mean, who would want to do this? You know, I mean, there isn't a candidate out there who's going to be absolutely perfect. And if you're going to pick on any little thing and exploit it for something that it's not, well, it's not even worth getting into politics.
Yeah, it is. And it really makes you wonder. And so the one thing we have to watch, again, as voters, you watch for the wild swings, because if it feels a little wild, it probably is. So that's an important thing to listen for. I think the other thing is, if you have someone who's willing to say or do anything to get into office, they will say or do anything to stay in office. And they will never be able to show any kind of political courage or do the job they're actually running for. And I always go Shakespearean on this. Shakespeare said, "Who for one small grape would the entire vine destroy?" And you have some people who are so fixated on that one grape of winning that one election that they'll burn down the whole vineyard just to get that one grape. And it's not worth it. And in our country, we do a lot of those same kinds of things. For one small grape, we're willing to sell out this, or we're willing to compromise our integrity on that. And in the end, you end up destroying the whole vineyard. And that's, to me, that's the bigger worry.
But it is also crucial to be able to criticize a politician for what they do and their ideas or their policies.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will fall back, oh, that's just a wild swing. It's like, no, it's a criticism of what you have done. So there is a balance there, because all criticism can be taken as wild swings.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not about being passive and just accepting things, but it's how you do it. So when I listen to someone make an accusation in a debate, regardless of the candidates, I'm listening, is it a sweeping generality? Because when we talk about things in generalities, it's rarely happening. But when you can talk about things in specifics, you have the details, you have the facts to back it up, then that's different. But when we hear these sweeping generalities of things, that's, to me, like my spidey sense goes crazy. It's like, okay, I need to dig on that, or I'm guessing that might be a half-truth, or it may be far less than a half-truth. It may be a 1/10 of 1% truth. In there. So you have to listen just a little bit different.
Boy, let me bounce this off you. When I start hearing wild allegations, and I first of all, what I do is I will look it up.
Yeah.
I will source it through other sources, credible sources. But I often feel that those usually, my experience is they generally come from the candidate who's desperate and pretty far down in the polls.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? What's your barometer on that?
Yeah, it's taking in all of the information. And so I'm glad you described it that way, Debbie, because that's what our listeners should do. So you hear an accusation, you hear something, so immediately check sources, check where it's coming from. Do they have things that back it up? And then what is their positioning? Are they functioning from a position of strength, or does it feel a little desperate? If they're way behind in the polls, if they're no chance of winning, or if they're just trying to take a shot at somebody, then again that credibility just slowly erodes there. But it's up to us as the voters. We have to be willing to not just accept whatever pops into our social media feed, because remember, if we keep validating it, or we pass it along, all the algorithms work in their favor. And so it makes it very hard to actually get back to the truth. And again, that undermines trust. And here's my biggest of all worries. When you have these kinds of allegations flying, or these kinds of half-truths, mistruths, misinformation, disinformation, it undermines our trust in our elected officials, which undermines our trust in our institutions, and ultimately we stop trusting each other.
Boyd Matheson, thank you.
Breaking news right now, the special counsel in the Hunter Biden case, also with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Delaware, speaking right now about the conviction of the president's son earlier this morning.
For their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle and to the principles of federal prosecution in carrying out its responsibilities. I want to thank the jury for their service. There are few civic responsibilities more important than jury service. 15 Delawareans came to court each day and performed their responsibilities in a professional and conscientious manner. We thank them. I want to thank Derek Hines, Leo Wise, and the entire special counsel team. I am so proud of this group of attorneys, agents, and litigation professionals. This is a difficult assignment. These folks have been working 7 days a week for the last couple months, litigating a variety of issues in district and appellate courts on two coasts. They have given their heart and soul to this work. They represent the best that public service has to offer. I am incredibly grateful. Finally, I want to thank Attorney General Garland for providing the support necessary to fulfill our mission.
Okay, this seems like we got to the part of the press statement where he is doing the thank yous. I call them the Oscar thank yous. But the important point is that's the special counsel in the Hunter Biden case. He brought the case. He won the case. They got a full conviction on Hunter Biden earlier this morning, the jury making that decision in about 3 hours.
And interesting to me on that thankathon, which is what typically happens, that he thanked the Attorney General who's been appointed by President Biden himself, Merrick Garland.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical. We bring wellness home.
Do you find it exhausting getting up from your favorite chair every day? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a world of ease. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and you have so many options when buying a lift chair. For the highest quality, always come to Alpine. Our lift chairs are more than just furniture. They're your ticket to independence and relaxation. Plus, with our spring savings event, we've just marked down some of our chairs that are ready for you to take home. With an unbelievable warranty, you can shop with confidence knowing your comfort is our priority. So stop by any of our 11 locations today and explore our high-quality inventory, or visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical. We bring wellness home.
We're about to bury the needle.
High pressure's going to build back. Another round of high heat will move on in.
And it's only June.
Extra hot, extra early.
Stay updated on the steamy forecast for this week. Get a reliable KSL forecast every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
Flo here from Progressive to tell you how you get more than great savings with us. You get customer service access through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
That's a lot of ways I can get in touch with you. I see what's going on here. You can't name favorites, but I'm your #1 customer.
Actually, we offer all our customers these ways to contact us.
I'm sure you give just any customer your personal
company
contact info.
Well, you did call us more than any other customer this year. So in that sense, you are our #1 customer.
Get help from Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
What's wrong? My travel rewards card didn't earn enough miles for my vacation.
Are you crying? Are you crying because of that other credit card?
Uh-huh.
Well, switch to the Capital One Venture card. Venture lets you redeem miles on any travel purchase.
Really?
Yep, and you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every single day. The Capital One Venture card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
How many of you have been waiting months or even years to get a crown, but don't have $1,200 to $1,500 to get one? Only Crowns offers same-day crowns at a fraction of the cost of your dentist. Plus, you're in and out in under 90 minutes. Save your money and save your time with Only Crowns. They provide an unmatched lifetime warranty. No dental insurance? No problem. Don't let the price of a crown keep you from enjoying good dental health. Only Crowns is here, and there's nothing like it anywhere in Utah. Done fast, done right, just $6.99 per tooth. They'll offer a limited exam, all the x-rays needed, plus a full zirconia crown with a lifetime warranty and no hidden fees. No one else offers that, and it's yours with Only Crowns. Visit Only Crowns next to Shields and Sandy or online at onlycrowns.com and get details, including how to score a Stanley mug for the first 100 appointments, along with a chance to win an electric bike. No purchase necessary. Onlycrowns.com. That's onlycrowns.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating and, of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the last minute of last night's debate between Republican candidates erupted in controversy when one candidate accused another of making a well-timed stock deal. Second, gasoline prices have dropped an average of 9 cents a gallon across the country in the past week. And third, turns out June and July are the most dangerous months for grill fires. 83 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Fresh off the debate stage, we spoke live with Representative Celeste Malloy. She just got done debating Colby Jenkins. It was yesterday that it happened. You heard it here live on our show. It was from 10 to 11 yesterday, and where Jenkins pretty regularly referred to President Trump, saying that we needed to get him back into office to reelect Trump, that a lot of issues would be solved. And then he played off of Celeste Malloy's comments about Republicans not always wanting to hit singles and doubles and always trying to hit the grand slam.
So hitting singles and doubles is one thing, but when you're hitting them for the wrong team, that's another. That's called surrender. That is not called leadership. The American people are with us. There is a supermajority of Americans who are looking to us, Republicans, to stand up and own that slim majority.
And one of the common themes, again, what he referred to often, as you said, was Trump. It was another common theme was the $35 trillion in national debt, the $1.2 trillion spending bill that Celeste Malloy had voted for.
We need leadership that President Trump had before, and legislators who will stand up and be there with him. If you truly want to fight for water and land in Utah, you vote for and you support President Trump. It begins with leadership. I will vote for and support President Trump and the new Trump administration.
So often really focusing on the importance of Donald Trump retaking the White House. Colby Jenkins joins us right now. Thank you for joining us, candidate.
Hello, how are you guys? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So that was one of the first things that stood out to me is in the questioning how often you found or thought it was important to point out the fact that getting Trump reelected was a top priority.
Yes, you bet. There has yet to be well, first, thanks for the opportunity, and I hope that we can expand upon not only my experience and allow the listeners to really get an extra opportunity to learn more about my background in Washington, D.C., where I served for many years, both on the Hill and then later into the Pentagon. We didn't even get a chance to touch on that yesterday, so I hope we'll get to that. But in terms of President Trump, I have yet to meet a county commissioner in our district who is not counting the days for that change. I meet county commissioners who are frustrated beyond recognition with what they're having to deal with just in terms of BLM management since the Biden administration has come into power, the tenor of the EPA, and just their total lack of involvement or even negotiation in the management of lands that once were theirs, and now the federal government has parachuted in and taken them without any input. So when you hear me speak about President Trump, I am being clear and undeniable in terms of going to battle for those who I ultimately work for, which are our constituents here in the 2nd District. And that contrast was so important to make yesterday because my opponent, Celeste Malloy, didn't even vote in the last presidential election, let alone vote for President Trump. So how can someone who's standing in front of constituents asking for their vote, not even having bothered to vote herself, how is that okay? And so it's important when you say you're going to run as a conservative, that you run as a conservative, that you vote as a conservative, that you actually provide what the voters think they're going to get. And that's not what we've had in the short 6 months with Celeste Malloy in Congress.
I felt, though...
Yeah, it begins with leadership. And I've said this multiple times, and that leadership is President Trump.
Is that your debate moment became more of a campaign strategy on behalf of President Trump?
So I've answered this question throughout. I voted for President Trump twice before. I voted for him in this year's primary.
And you really missed some moments to explain what your military role was. And you just sprung it on me that you worked at the Pentagon at one point. Why not lean into that instead of spending so much time campaigning on behalf of President Trump during yesterday's debate?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's important to recognize that leadership matters. And leadership like President Trump needs Republicans who are not going to undermine him, that are not going to, like my opponent, Celeste Malloy, equated him to being a dictator. That's not okay. How can you say you're going to support, hopefully, our next president and equate him in the same breath as being a dictator? So moving on to my experience, yes, I've been in the military in one way, shape, or form, active, guard, now in the reserve for 31 years. I'm a combat veteran Green Beret. I've led a Special Forces A team in combat in Afghanistan, other areas of the world, including hostage rescue in the jungles of Colombia. And coming out of that operational time in combat, my command looked at me and said, you know, you've had great experience working with tribal chiefs, literal tribal chiefs around the world. So let's send you to a new battlefield where you can work with new tribal chiefs. And that was Washington, D.C. So coming out of combat, I became a Green Beret liaison to Congress. I worked in the Senate, where I supported senators on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senate Appropriations Committee, Subcommittee Defense, worked in the House for several years as well, similarly supporting the House committees, working back into the Pentagon. And then for more than 4 years in the Pentagon as a senior advisor. I worked at the highest levels of our Pentagon. I was the legislative director for our vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, working daily with the number 2 leader for our entire military, working across back into the Hill, working back into the White House, working with the interagency. I've spent more than, roughly 9 years working primarily on the National Defense Authorization Act, perhaps our most critical piece of legislation that passes yearly. And so when it comes to the legislative process, when it comes to working on Capitol Hill, in and around Washington, D.C., and one thing that few people probably know too, I actually taught as an adjunct professor in the Graduate School of Political Management at George Washington in the evenings, recognized by the dean there that I was a practitioner actually working in the legislative world, now having the opportunity to train, coach, mentor, and actually teach congressional staff who were working on the Hill at the time.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Colby Jenkins, a candidate for Congressional District 2. We listened to yesterday's debate live during our show on David Dujanovic. Thank you for giving us a little bit more history and background of you as a candidate and your experience. Colby Jenkins, thank you.
2 o'clock this afternoon, there's a debate for Attorney General that will happen between Derek Brown, Frank Mylar, and also Rachel Terry. We will carry that live from 2 to 3 today. And then tonight, the debate between Spencer Cox and Phil Lyman starts at 6 o'clock, goes till 7 right here. You can hear it live on KSL News Radio.
You know what's great about
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Debates between the Republican candidates for Attorney General and Governor coming up later today. And KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr has more.
Former state GOP Chairman Derek Brown, Frank Mylar, and Rachel Terry will take the stage at 2 in the race for Attorney General. Then at 6, Governor Spencer Cox and Representative Phil Lyman will face off in the debate for governor. Lyman was nominated by the state GOP convention this year, but a recent poll by the Deseret Hinckley Institute of Politics shows Cox is favored by registered Republican voters, receiving 62% support compared to Lyman's 25%. Alessandra Gurr, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden's son Hunter could wind up facing prison time after a jury found him guilty on 3 counts of violating federal firearms laws. The jury determined he lied on a form required for handgun purchases when he said he was not a habitual user of illegal drugs. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 260 points, while the NASDAQ is up 37. And our KSL weather, going to get even hotter tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Introducing Peach Doors and Windows. Are you ready to upgrade your home with stunning new windows but are overwhelmed with how to begin? Look no further than Peach Windows. You know at Peach, they are all about giving you options. Peach offers a wide selection of wood windows, sleek modern black metal frames, European tilt and turn windows, plus much, much more. It's not just about looks, it's about durability and security to protect what matters most. Let them help you find the perfect match for your home, budget, and personal style. Visit their showroom and see for yourself. No pushy sales tactics, only guidance from their experienced staff. No inflated markups just to offer so-called discounts. See their 5-star reviews where customers rate them on their attention to detail through every step of the sale and installation process. Amazing home transformations begin with windows and doors. Serving Logan to St. George, just Google Peach Building to see for yourself.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products, like Johnson's baby powder and shower to shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC.
Paid for by Lyman for Utah.
I guess the thing that I want people to think about when they go to vote this year, I want them to remember the masking, remember the business shutdown, remember the call-in lines, the hotlines to report your neighbors. And we can't expect that the same people that created that corrupt system are going to now turn around and fix it. A good question to ask, if you go and look at my opponent's campaign disclosures, is who's benefiting and how. As your governor, I am committed to making this a top priority.
Phil Lyman for governor.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with half-price granite. For a limited time, half-price granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half-price granite, affordable luxury.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a crash reported in Taylorsville, northbound Redwood Road, prior to 5400 South. It's blocking a right lane of traffic. But the slower speeds on Redwood will be northbound as you go from 3500 South up to 2100 South. Don't miss the 90th annual Ute Stampede Rodeo with special night of extreme bulls, July 10th. More value, explosive entertainment, music, food, and days of fun, July 10th through 13th. Visit utestampede.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be sunny with temperatures in the low 90s today and hotter tomorrow and Thursday with highs near 100. And right now, 82 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Well, kind of a ironic, strange twist. A president is getting ready to speak any moment now at what's called Gun Sense University.
Ironic?
His son convicted this morning on all three charges that he illegally purchased a gun. And a federal jury found him guilty in a matter of hours. Obviously, they found the evidence that the prosecutors presented overwhelming. And they convicted him on all three counts. We talked to Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, earlier this morning, and he suggested that based on federal sentencing guidelines, he would expect that the president's son could serve prison time.
25 years is what it could be. I mean, it's never going to be 25 years. He anticipated or expected it to be somewhere maybe in the year range at most. But remember, when this gun charge, we first learned about this, it was because there was going to be a plea deal back in 2023. And the real meaty thing was, it was essentially a tax evasion charge that Hunter Biden hadn't paid his taxes on a couple $100,000 of income. That was the big one. This gun charge was almost slipped in below the radar. It wasn't expected to be that big of a deal. So when the plea deal fell apart, literally the day they were putting in the deal with the judge basically tanked it. That's when all of a sudden prosecutors said, okay, well, we're not only are we going to go after the tax evasion charge, we are also going to go after in a big way, in the harshest way possible, this gun charge.
It's like they poked the bear in the prosecutor's office there, and they said, all right, get out of our way now because we're coming after you. And this is a PSA for guilty pleas. Quite frankly, take the plea. Take the plea. The federal system is very unforgiving, and that's what he was. That was what he was charged in, and this is a federal gun charge. So there's a lot of things that are attached with that. And And one of the things that the federal system does very well is it locks people up and it keeps people behind bars. If he was charged in Utah, for example, in our state system, he might get a little bit, maybe probation for this. Maybe he'll serve a little jail time, maybe some prison time. But he'd be sent to prison here, the state level, and then within a matter of months, he'd get a parole hearing and he'd probably be out. In the federal system, folks, you get put away, you get put away. There's no parole in the federal system. You might get 10% for good time served credited back to you. But if he gets a 10-year sentence on this, we won't see Hunter Biden for 10 years. We won't see. It's very unforgiving that way. And for victims, that's an awesome thing. If you're a defendant, like Hunter Biden is, now a convicted felon, that's all kinds of trouble. You go away and they don't let you out. And so you might be asking, well, it's the president's son. Maybe the president can pardon him. Dave, what have we found out about that today?
He spoke to this specifically when he was asked by ABC News correspondent David Muir.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
You have.
And this was before the judgment came down. Well, the president just released another statement that reiterated what he had told David Muir, that he would respect the legal process, he'd support his son as he considers an appeal.
We are actually waiting a call from Kelly Meyer from News Nation, and I'm watching her now live on News Nation, so I'm not sure she's going to make it to pick up the phone. I'm wondering, can we take the live feed right now from News Nation? She's supposed to call us any moment. They're waiting for the president to speak right now.
I've got it.
Like I said, ironically, at a gun safety conference.
Stay with us.
Looks like she just finished her report. But yeah, the president is expected to speak at this Gun Sense University. There's going to be a statement. And there is an irony that his son had just been convicted on all three counts on gun charges.
CNN now reporting that the jury was initially deadlocked, which is surprising to me. So the jury went behind closed doors to walk through all of the evidence that had been presented over the course of the last couple of weeks at trial. And the CNN's reporting that the jury was initially deadlocked. They undid that deadlock. And Kelly Meyer of News Nation, they issued the guilty verdict today.
Yeah, hi there. We've been following this all day. We're actually here at the White House, and we just heard from the White House that the president had an update to his schedule, actually, just moments ago, that he will be traveling to Wilmington, Delaware today. He is set to deliver remarks at this gun prevention conference here in Washington, D.C. any moment now, and then right from there he will travel to JBA, Joint Base Andrews, and then fly to Wilmington to be with his son, Hunter, after this guilty verdict. And we actually heard from the president himself in a statement just before noon today, talking about how, again, as he is president, but he is also a father, he talks about how proud he is of Hunter. He talks a lot about his battle with Hunter's battle with addiction and how many families across the country in America can relate to that battle and that they are proud to see their loved ones come out on the other side. He also says that he accepts the results of the outcome of this case and will respect the judicial process as Hunter may consider an appeal here. But he says that he and the First Lady will stand by Hunter, as we saw the First Lady there in Wilmington today.
Kelly Meyer is joining us now from News Nation and out front of the White House. We just saw your report shortly before on News Nation. But Kelly, now we move into the sentencing part of this. Do we know when this is going to happen?
And it's something like potentially up to 25 years that he could face. We don't know exactly when that might come down. A lot of the information is still coming in. I know my colleague Joe Khalil is there outside of the court in Wilmington, but it came down fairly quickly. We just heard from the prosecutors in this case as well. So a lot of this information really just coming in over the last several minutes here, and we've been watching for the White House reaction, of course, too.
Kelly, I guess it's ironic, sort of, that the president is going to be speaking at this gun safety, gun sense university conference. And it says just a matter of minutes he should be speaking. Was that in addition to his schedule, or is this business as usual for the president? Was it already planned?
So this was already planned that way, actually. So, we looked at the president's schedule this morning and saw that that was on there because it's nearly 2 years since he had signed in reforms to gun safety. And he was delivering these remarks here in Washington, D.C. at this gun prevention conference. So this was already on the schedule, but it is interesting. I went to Google this morning and typed in Biden gun to try to search for some of the info on the previous legislation he passed, and it comes up Hunter because of his federal firearms charges. So it's an interesting day to have that speech come out.
Kelly Meyer, thank you for joining us from News Nation and outside of the White House.
Dave and Dujanovic.
KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Well, it's been 5 months. Time to check in on those New Year's resolutions you made to lose weight. How'd it go? I asked because once I started my health journey with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, it took me just over 5 months to let go of 70 pounds of fat weight. And even better, I did it all from the convenience of home with no office visits, injections, crazy workouts, or fad diets. What I did have was access to a certified dietitian like Avery.
I feel like you're enrolling in like a school of nutrition with a whole new perspective on what food is and what it does for your body.
Soda helped me retrain myself and change the lifelong food habits that got me where I was in the first place.
I think the accountability is the game changer for everything.
So, how fast do you want to let go of that weight for good? Go to sodaweightloss.com and save 15% by clicking one simple button, Request a Nutritionist Callback. A Soda nutritionist will be on the line before you know it, and you'll be on your way to looking and feeling like you've wanted to. That's SOTAweightloss.com. Don't forget, Soda stands for State of the Art.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Debbie Myler, wife of Attorney General candidate Frank Myler. Candidates speak theoretically about helping the oppressed and abused. Frank actually does that. I know because I work with him. He's actively fought these battles for years, providing free legal advice to people in some of the most desperate situations. I've seen the fruits of Frank's labors. We want an Attorney General who cares. Frank is that person. Vote Frank Myler for Utah Attorney General.
This is Frank Myler, and I approve this ad. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Myler Attorney General.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The Utah Days of 47 Rodeo, presented by Zions Bank, takes place at the $17.5 million state-of-the-art Days of 47 Arena at the Utah State Fair Park each July. Executive Director Tommy Joe Lucia joins us with more.
The Utah Days of 47 Rodeo in the heart of Salt Lake City is a must-stop during the summer for your chance to immerse yourself and family into the authentic Pioneer West and make yourself a gold medal memory. The experience includes a fan zone with pony rides, bounce houses, a free petting zoo, and much, much more. Or get your shopping on at our KSL Expo tent. The rodeo boasts of being one of the largest 5-day rodeos in the nations, where contestants run away with lots of money and a chance to win a gold, silver, or bronze medals right during the 2024 Summer Olympic Games being held in Paris. The Utah Days of 47 Rodeo is a gold standard in rodeo, one of Utah's longest standing traditions. The rodeo and the other Days of 47 events commemorate July 24, 1847, when a determined company of Mormon pioneers realized their dreams upon entering the Great Salt Lake Valley. So join us for a gold medal memory at Utah's Days of 47 Rodeo.
The Utah Days of 47 Rodeo is a time-honored tradition that honors Utah's pioneer heritage and provides education for our community. For more information, visit the Utah Days of 47 Rodeo website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, 2 more Republican candidate debates are coming up later today. Second, a prison sentence for President Biden's son Hunter is possible after his conviction on 3 federal firearms charges. Third, visitors to Antelope Island love to look at bison, but the bison get nervous when people get too close. 82 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Priced Out Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, we love that we work so closely with the Stern team, and they support our ongoing coverage of Utah's real estate market. They've been great partners, so we appreciate the Stern team and all they do for us. And what we want to talk about right now is the hidden cost of home ownership. I really look at what we're finding out about the hidden cost, Dave, and there's a brand new report out, a brand new study out that we're going to talk about. It's like a mortgage on top of a mortgage. That's how I look at it. It's so much money every single month to keep a home running and keep maintenance going that you don't even know you're that knee deep in it.
Even after 20 years, I'm still shocked at how much it costs to run a home. It was in part why I moved, because I had an older home built in 1978, and I was facing some repairs, right? I got to fix a roof. There was some leaky plumbing we had to fix, and I said, I'm done. We're out. And we sold our house. We're moving into a new one. And I think a lot of new home buyers don't realize the mortgage is not where it ends. There is so much hidden cost, and it is so expensive to run a home that you have to be better prepared.
Would it shock you to know that in some states it's $18,000 a year in hidden costs, according to Bankrate?
When I first saw that number, it seemed high. And then they started breaking it down. It's not that high here in Utah, but when they started breaking it down, I started doing some rough math in my head. It's in the ballpark.
What part of the breakdown stood out to you the most?
Well, first of all, you have your mortgage, and anyone that has paid this understands. Sure, your mortgage might be, $2,000, $2,200, whatever it might be. Then you've got property taxes. Mm-hmm. You've got insurance. That is every single month. That just gets folded.
Right.
Did I already say property taxes?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we're getting hit so many times with property taxes. But yeah, you've got this monthly thing that does not go in any way toward your mortgage. So that's baked into it, several $100s. And then in addition to that, you've got basic maintenance, repairs. If you have a house in the springtime, how much fertilizer are you bringing in to prepare your beds, to plant flowers? All of that stuff I didn't take into account when I first bought a home. I just thought, can we make the mortgage payment? Yes, good, awesome. Oh, wait. In the first week, we lost a water heater. That was 20 years ago. I still remember this. The first week, we're broke, lost a water heater.
And you need that, right? You need a water heater. And
we're going to be taking cold showers,
back in the day, they weren't as expensive as they are now, and maybe you changed it out on your own, so you saved some money there, which I would never do because I don't want to mess around with natural gas lines. It's not my thing. It's not my forte.
We rolled the dice. We're like, I can do this.
So in Utah, it's it's not quite as much. It's
about $13,000.
$13,000 a year. What really jumped out at me when we were reading through this is this number. Is how do you do the math on how much money you should be setting aside every single year for maintenance costs on your home? Talk about rolling the dice. I wish I would have known this math equation when we bought a home that was seriously used. We bought a used home. I mean,
well-loved is what we call it. Well-loved.
No, we were the new lovers. I mean, the people that left it were the haters. We were the lovers. So they have a math equation that you should do. It's like 2% of the value of your home. Okay, everybody's home right now in Utah is right in the $500,000 range, which makes me sick to even say. But basically, your home is valued right now at about $500,000. It just is along the Wasatch Front. Maybe it's $600,000, $700,000. You do the math on $500,000. You should be setting aside $10,000 a year for maintenance. Okay, that's good to know. I mean, I'd rather know than not know because I've gone through most of my life not realizing that somebody who's way smarter than me has done this math already and said it's in a $500,000 home. It's going to cost you about $10,000 a year for maintenance. An air conditioner goes out, a water heater goes out. You have a plumbing leak. My goodness, don't call the insurance company and say you have a plumbing leak. Just say you've got some water on the ground. Okay, you don't want to know what comes after that because they might cancel you. Think about that though, Dave. I think that's empowering to know that could cost that much before you buy.
And you get nickeled and dimed every step of the way. Just think every time you've got to put gas in the mower or you've got to buy the oil, for the edger.
I don't even count that. You count that?
Yeah. I mean, this is what it takes, right? Or you're paying $40 a week to have some kid come out to mow your lawn and edge it and weed eat it.
I did that for a while. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's something that we don't take into account very often. And if you're setting aside that money, so let's just pretend you're setting aside $800 additional a month. If you can even do that, that's probably pie in the sky impossibility. But let's say you did, and you're setting aside $10,000 a month to be able to do this, and you go through a few years of nothing happening. You've built up all this money. Well, then maybe you pay down the principal of your house or you can use it somewhere else. But I think it's already incredibly burdensome to pay the mortgage of a $500,000 home. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's got another $10,000 that they can just throw and plan for repairs.
I'm not advocating for this. I just makes me wonder if it's better for some people if they're out there, if the homes are out there, which I know we lack enough housing and enough starter homes, and hopefully, the governor's solution, partial solution to this is to build 35,000 starter homes in the next few years, convince developers to build 35,000 starter homes in the next few years. He's not going to be out there building them by himself. He's going to need a little help. But, I mean, would it be a better idea if you're a young couple to purchase a new home, freshly built? Like they just literally put the last nail in, and it's just like you like it without the leaky roof and the avocado green toilet from the 1970s. What do you think about that?
Well, and there are some programs right now from the state of Utah that if you buy a home that's under $450,000, you can get a $20,000 interest-free loan, a grant from the state of Utah. Eventually, you'll have to pay it back, but it's interest-free. There are some new home benefits. Not only the plumbing's going to be good, the shingles are brand new, your sheetrock's not going to be cracking, all of those benefits, but there's some programs to encourage new builds as well.
What is the worst hidden cost that you've ever stumbled upon in your home?
Heating and air, HVAC. That I never had to replace a roof. That one would have been that would have stung.
So this wasn't the most expensive one, but this was the worst experience ever. And let me recommend to all newly married couples, do not try to hang a drop ceiling in the basement together, because you will be elbowing each other out of the way to be the first one in line for divorce court. That was the word. When we walked into our home, our new home, we just purchased it as a young couple, younger. I mean, we weren't that young, youngish. We were 27, 28. And the basement drop ceiling had literally lived up to its name and dropped from the ceiling to the floor. We were like, oh, this is a total DIY moment. You know, we can do this. This will bring us closer together. You don't even get it. You don't even know. You're laughing. He was making me, I was the holder-upper. Do you know how badly my arms
Ceiling sheetrock is the worst sheetrock.
My arms hurt so badly. No, we were hanging those square tiles, and when he'd put one in, the others would fall, and then we put another one in, and the others would fall. So there's a lot more to hidden costs than just the money. There's also a lot of emotional costs. Hey, thanks so much to the Stern team. Learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
KSL FM Midvale.